It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole show for you planned of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this here is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Matt Gaetz, out of here.
That was a bit of a surprise.
What happened there?
Yeah, he didn't even last a full Scaramucci.
Was it shorter than that?
Yeah, he was 7 days. I think Scaramucci was 11 or 12. So he didn't even get a full Scaramucci. Yeah, that's shocking.
So Gates out. Pam Bondi is in. Who is Pamela Bondi? Well, we're going to be covering that. Plus, a new audit is out on Mikey Johnson. He's had a week.
Yeah. He has.
I don't think I've seen a politician put their foot in their mouth worse than Mike Johnston did yesterday by saying that he's going to use the Denver police to stop federal immigration officials from their mass deportations, which just spun up a whole lot of questions.
And then it makes the very, very appropriate Tiananmen Square reference.
Yes, exactly right.
Hang on.
So wait, are you saying federal law enforcement or Chinese communist military?
Mike Johnston is having a moment where he feels like a lot of those kids that are head off to school day going, oh, come on, Thanksgiving break. Come on, Thanksgiving break. Come on, Thanksgiving break. They're just hoping to make sure that the that the teachers don't contact the parents before they get to Thanksgiving break. There's a whole bunch of students doing that across Denver.
Literally, Bill, got phone calls from Washington, D.C. yesterday going, did he really say that?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Like conservatives being like, is this where the progressives are going? Is this giving us insight?
Yeah. And it's great. They're like, are you sure this isn't from the Onion or the Babylon Bee? It's one of those they're checking. They're like, wait. And again, it's wonderful to hear that response that like, wait, he couldn't have done. No, he didn't. No, I got to check on this. Yeah, it's one of those things. Oh, that's not good. Not
so
good
many directions to go there. Still no statements from him. And yesterday, when media found him, he, quote, fled.
Oh.
That's what one reporter said.
Hey.
He took the little Forrest Gump and just started running down the street.
Oh, I wish we had video.
Mikey Johnston, not only dealing with that problem, an audit came out on his Denver homeless hotels. Disastrous. We knew back in March that this was the hotels from hell, and the audit is not good. So
it's horrible.
Rough week on Mikey Johnston and his leadership in the city of Denver.
And the part about it is, again, we're to be nice, we're a couple of chuckleheads on the radio, and we knew what the problems were going to be. Sitting here with almost no practical experience with implementing this kind of a program, with no practical experience of dealing with these communities, with no practical experience in managing a hotel, we said, you know what the problems are going to be? A, B, and C. Guess what the audit found? And so the problem I've got is, if we can figure it out along with our audience, what is preventing the people in charge? And then convince me they still need to be in charge and we trust them. Because if we can figure it out, come on, people. It's not that hard.
We've got that. Then we'll wrap up with some cowboy poetry in the 9 o'clock hour with Jeff Hildebrandt. That's relevant not only to Thanksgiving coming up and time with family, but NFR is coming up in about a week or so.
Yes, that's true.
That's the Super Bowl of rodeo out of Las Vegas National Finals Rodeo. So enjoy some time with Jeff Hildebrandt a little bit later in the show. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
TGIF, Jeff and Billy. It's going to be a great day today. 32 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 60 today with the 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, DJT wasted little time in announcing his new pick for Attorney General after Matt Gaetz withdrew his nomination. 47 chose Florida AG Pam Bondi. He said on Truth Social that she will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. Here she is 10 years ago getting it done in Florida.
And I'll tell you, it's bad enough in one thing to profit from poisoning others, but it's another when you bring drugs from Mexico into our country, California, Texas, Georgia, and end up in our state and do it with impunity. Because when you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegally, I want to tell you, and you wind up in Polk County, Grady Judd is going to find you. The DEA is going to help them. And my statewide prosecutors are going to lock you up for as long as we can.
Lefty political scientist Jason Johnson on Messy NBC.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that.
I guess that's good. I'm not sure. Gaetz called the choice of Bondi stellar. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says more giant buoys will be placed in the Rio Grande. The state installed the floating border barrier last year in order to deter illegal river crossings. The Biden administration has quietly loosened immigration policies before DJT takes office, allowing illegals to flee authorities, according to the New York Post. Fox News Channel last night.
Now, we do know the Biden administration has been testing this new immigration and customs app, and the idea is to streamline the check-in process for migrants, allow them to use their phones or computers to touch base with immigration officials while they wait for their date in court, instead of appearing for those check-ins in person. Now, a source tells Fox News ICE has been using the app already in a couple of cities, but according to the New York Post, it's going to be launched officially next month in New York City.
The trial of the Aurora dentist, James Craig, accused of killing his wife last year, is being delayed for a third time. The lawyer for 45-year-old Craig withdrew from the case Thursday as jury selection was set to begin. Harvey Steinberg cited actions by his client that he believed were criminal or fraudulent as one of his reasons for quitting the case. An audit report is criticizing Denver's homeless shelter program for poor organization and lack of documentation regarding spending. Shocker there. The report notes that the city's Department of Housing Stability lacks some accountability measures meant to track provider performance. The department was also criticized for safety failures at one shelter, as well as a failure to track all shelter-related expenses. The mayor's office said the report reflects data that is at least 8 months old and is not an accurate reflection of the current system. John Benet Ramsey's father is still hopeful his daughter's killer will be caught. Nearly 30 years after the murder, John Ramsey, now 80, says he hopes advances in DNA technology can help open new leads in the 96 murder. He was joined on the Today Show by John Berlinger, the director of soon-to-be-released Netflix docuseries called Cold Case, Who Killed John Benet Ramsey, out next week. I just go to Peter Boyles for all this stuff.
Yeah, Pete got way into this, didn't he? Who do you say did it?
You know what? Every time Billy would know more than myself.
Is it the mom? Is it the mom?
Again, it's we have some allegations, but it's inside the house, and there's some theories about which family member could have been responsible, but it is someone that is internal, and the two most likely, according to what we have right now, and according to investigations and just some other armchair quarterbacks and detectives, mom or the brother. That's something in there is probably.
So I watch a ton of true crime TV, like 2020, all that stuff.
You still watch that, huh?
Oh yeah,
Do
and
you?
it is. I mean, it is. You know who it is. It's always the family.
Yeah.
At least in
Yeah.
those cases.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this,
typically.
it's a tough one because I don't think you're ever going to be able to get to closure because what was done in the first few hours was so outside of regular police procedure. There's no way you're ever going to go back and to be able to reconstruct things. And what I mean by that is that the police allowed lots of different people access to the house and allowed people to wander around. They never secured it as a potential crime scene. And if the person was, again, you would assume that if it was a kidnapping, as was the report early on, because we had the ransom note, because of that, you would assume that means a kidnapping, someone would have had access to the house. You would seal the house. You would have a procedure and protocols in place to not have people wander around and dirty up the crime scene. But what you had is you had everybody in the family and family friends wandering around that crime scene. And so there's nothing that you could ever reasonably bring into a courtroom and conclude and point at anybody. And then you have, dad a couple hours later doing another search of the house alone and finds the body. Well, why he was around searching the house alone, why there wasn't a search of the house by police when they got there. There's so many questions about that first few hours of the investigation that makes it almost impossible to ever accurately reconstruct what really happened. And there are some things as far as the handwriting in the note, some references inside the note that are internal to the family that lead and point to you back to the family. There are some statements that have been made by the family that are very, very questionable. Yeah, it's an awful tragedy. And it could be something as simple as, rather than necessarily, something really bad abuse, it could be something where, and we've seen this in some families, where punishment can be very severe.
Yeah.
And
it got out of hand.
This could be a case where there was a punishment, there was something that was going on. And again, this is not necessarily analogous, nor is it fair, and these are all allegations still, but there was an influencer that was very popular a number of years ago on social media, and it has turned out that she was like locking her kids in cages, she was restricting food, she was abusing them, and she was big about, this is the parenting aspect of it. So those things can be hidden. And so even though they presented themselves as this wonderful family, and there is some, it's hard for me to get into, and without, I got to dance this line properly, but there are some questions on the motivations and some of the psychology involved in what was going on with the beauty pageants.
Yeah,
because there's
pageantry.
Because there is a really, some of that has ended up being very, very good, but some of that has ended up being very bad. Some of the psychological things that happen to the kids because of what the kids are expected, the expectations that are placed on those kids to be both adult and child at the same time, and what those expectations are in order to be ready for the next pageant, to be ready for the next performance, to be ready to present yourself this way. And that can lead to, and has led to, some really, really awful situations.
Was she strangled?
Yeah. There's
Wow.
there's a good roach around her neck. So yeah. So again, it's all allegations right now. We don't know if that was the situation. But in some of those tightly knit families, that has happened in other areas, in other situations. So it would not necessarily be that unexpected, especially given some of the things that we've seen in the past and some of the stories that have come out. But they're never going to be able to prove anything because that crime scene is so dirty. So many other people went through there, so many other footprints, so many other hairs.
Yeah,
so many
and it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be the problem is anything that you can come in and say, I can do A to B to C to D, you're going to be able to put so many other things in that house as far as, but what about this and what about this? Because there's so much other extraneous, miscellaneous, fingerprints and people wandering around. And so it's going to be hard. You could never, I could not imagine a prosecutor without a confession being able to get into a courtroom and get a conviction on anything because of how dirty that crime scene is at the beginning. And I mean dirty, not like, underhanded. I'm just saying because it's messy. They didn't secure the crime scene, which was ridiculous. But it was a failure. Yeah,
when you think about it.
Oh yeah, in the first 5 minutes of when the police arrived at the house, they were never going to be able to discover who did it because of how it was handled. Man. Yeah, it was ruined within 5 minutes.
And Peter was he's been all over that thing.
Yeah,
I mean, more than anyone.
I was riding shotgun with him on a lot. Yeah, I was not his full-time producer, but I was the fill-in producer. So yeah, I rode shotgun on that a lot with that. Yeah, I was very deep on him. Yeah, and there are some stories that I wish I could tell on the air. There are some great
yeah.
behind the scenes stories and some stuff
I can
that has happened.
imagine.
Yeah, there's some, and maybe I'll share with you,
So
gentlemen.
yeah, you should have
off air.
been on this docu-series though. I mean, so it's
Oh,
out
God, no.
next week. They should have put you on there.
No.
And Pete.
No, I'm just an observer. I'm just a sideline observer. I'm not important. Pete should
man.
be in it. Yeah, because Pete
So
knows.
weird.
Pete knows so much about it, and yeah, this is his bailiwick. Yeah.
Is that house? I've never asked this. Is that house pretty close to Mork and Mindy's house?
Huh. I don't know actually.
Is it in
I didn't
the
think
same
about
neighborhood?
that. I'm not
I
sure.
always wondered. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
look, I don't know.
It looks
think
like
about
it's right
that.
in that neighborhood.
Yeah, the
Not that
architecture is similar, but I don't know.
Yeah, it is exactly. Exactly. I've never asked that. There was never an appropriate time.
Yeah, never. Yeah. Hey, can we go see the Mork and Mindy? It's never gonna happen. It's never a good time to bring that up.
Nanu.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're the best.
News
Yes.
brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. College football weekend kicking off tomorrow. Number 16 CU at Kansas at 1:30. CSU at Fresno State tomorrow night. Air Force at Nevada. 12th ranked Boise State at WIO in Laramie. And UNC at Portland State. The Broncos at the Raiders on Sunday. 30 in Parker, 29 in Broomfield, 32 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Friday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Very mild, nice November weather for Denver. Upper 50s to the middle 60s today and tomorrow. Increasingly cloudy, 50s Sunday. Through midday Sunday, dry. Overnight Sunday into Monday morning could bring some snow showers. Cooler Monday, snow chances return. Late Tuesday into Wednesday, and colder by midweek. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Dante in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
All right, Matt Gates. He's out.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I was not expecting him to throw that. I thought we'd get closer to hearings and there'd be more machinations. I didn't think he was going to drop out this early. What do you think it means?
Yeah, so
let's talk the gossip side.
There's lots of different angles you can go on this, right? Bottom line, he didn't have the votes. All right, the votes weren't there.
Yeah.
The votes weren't there, and now we can start to explore why. Right, all the I don't want to be a distraction. I don't want to all that.
Yeah.
No, the votes are not there. Okay. Now, is this an insight into an ill-prepared Trump transition?
Oh, that's an interesting angle. Didn't think of that
Because
one. Yeah.
why in the hell would you allow somebody to start the whole process if you have not sat down and counted the votes? Okay. There's an entire job in the legislature called the whip, and his job, he's number two in the leadership, is to never embarrass the boss who is in leadership. The whole reason, the whole point of your existence is to count the votes so you never bring something to the floor that's going to fail.
Because you want to show leadership. And if you bring something to the floor that fails, you don't have the leadership. And that is going to be the first narrative. So you want to ensure that. And for all the stuff I dislike about Pelosi, she was really good at this as far as making sure they marched. And
same with McConnell.
McConnell's fantastic at it. Yeah, he was really, really good.
We are not going to get all this spun up. We're not going to get to the floor. We're not going to have the debates. They all know ahead of time, even before the committee hearings.
Yes.
How they're going to vote on something, where it's going to go, its likelihood to pass. If it's close, maybe we'll bring it, but you're not going to bring stuff up, have the big committee hearings, take it to the floor just to lose.
Yeah.
You're going to do your job ahead of all of that. You're going to talk to every single lawmaker. You're going to figure out where they stand, and you're going to sit with a little Excel doc, and you're going to count everybody's votes. That's the job of a whip in the legislature. And if you're part of the transition team, you better come to the floor with your votes in hand, ready to go.
I got a question on this one. Do you think possibly that rather than the transition team being unprepared, they felt that they were going to be able to strong arm the Republicans, that they felt they're going to go with the Trump mandate. He's the returning conqueror, and we are now supposed to lay waste to the system. And so we are going to strong arm our people through because, most importantly, they are our people. And could they have looked at it that way, to just think that because we have been reanointed into power,
we just 70 million votes or whatever it was,
then we now have the right, and you better do what we need to.
So they could have had the votes.
Yeah.
Here's another theory out there.
Oh, yeah.
They could have had the votes. They could have talked to these guys. Everything could have been hunky-dory, and then something, that report came out.
Yeah, something.
And they got wind of that, and it went, whoa, guys. You know, this is not something we can go to battle with. It's going to make us look terrible. We can't get this guy across the finish line. There's just too much dirt there.
Yeah. It's like the idea.
We've got to move on.
Like the idea of Brett Kavanaugh, the idea of, listen, this was a high school party that we have no other eyewitness verification of this assault happening. We have her story. And did you see what the Democrats did with it last time? And that is a high school / college age party. You understand what was, and this is more contemporaneous behavior. And we have members of the House talking about the behavior that is alleged inside the report. And they are Republicans talking about the behavior and confirming some aspects of the report in public years ago. That is on tape in interviews. Because remember, Gates was disliked tremendously inside the House by quite a number of Republicans. And they had no qualms when these rumors were out there going out and sharing his dirty laundry. Had no qualms with that. So maybe that's part of it too. That do you understand the circus this is going to involve and what we're going to have to defend?
And you have to put that back into the Kavanaugh context, that Donald Trump drives things forward.
Yeah.
He doesn't deal with the baloney out there. He's willing to push if it achieves his end. So this withdrawal, holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
That's that. So there could have been something there. They may have not had the votes, or Republican senators are just being punks. So you do run into this, and they talked about it on the floor yesterday. Okay. There was not a single Democrat that voted against any one of Joe Biden's picks.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
Yep.
Okay. They all got in line. And then, in the effort to protect the sanctity of the U.S. Senate and our ability to advise and consent, we must remain independent, and we're going to provide clear analysis on any pick that you provide. And maybe the Republicans in the Senate are just being punks out there, not playing ball, being a problem. And that's another problem. That's another possibility out there too.
It could be. It could be someone that is looking at where their district is, or where their constituency is, or where they are in the election cycle, and looking at it going, I'm going to have a problem defending this position. And am I going to be put in a situation where my potential opponent is just going to hit record on the hearings, and then I have already handed them enough early campaign material and enough early ads to make me look like I'm defending something that is awful? And there's another question that can roll in this too. That one, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Pam Biondi, and I'd also like to hear, now that Gates is out of the way, what happens with some of the other nominees, and primarily Hegseth, because now he becomes the tallest nail that might need to be hammered down, because now he is the outlier based on behavior. And so does he become the focus of the media and the narrative? So if I had to guess, that's the next one that is in the targets.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's a few differences, though. One, with Pete, they're consenting adults.
Yep, absolutely.
There was an investigation. No charges were found. We haven't seen the videos of them walking together, all that stuff. He was divorced at the time. Went back and checked the date. He divorced in August of 2017. This incident took place in October of 2017. But I feel like I want to stand at the top of Lookout Mountain, Bill, and shout to the whole city below, follow the Billy Graham rule, also known as the Mike Pence rule, which is don't put yourself in stupid situations. For the small little momentary pleasure you get, you can have your entire future destroyed.
Yes.
It's not worth it at all.
Yeah.
And these guys continue to make stupid decisions like this.
This is not a great analogy, but in some ways it's the Kiefer Sutherland example. And this is I have a personal connection to this. As a family member was in the lobby when Kiefer Sutherland was very, very, very drunk and ran at the large Christmas tree in the hotel lobby and tackled it. So there was a whole narrative about, is he going to work in Hollywood, everything else, and his addictions and the alcohol and everything else. But just sprinting right across, and jumps into the Christmas tree, tackles it, and then brings it down. And so that's the idea: is if you're going to do something like that in public, if you're going to make those choices, then understand those things are going to be made public.
Limit your abilities in the future.
And when Hegseth, according to the report that's been released by Mediaite, they got their hands on, I mean, he's screaming at people at 1:30 in the morning. He is yelling at hospital staff. I've got free speech rights. Exactly. And that's a real questionable ability of how you deal with conflict, how you deal in a situation of crisis, how you deal with pressure, how you deal with any sort of a pushback. There's, how do you deal in that meeting room? There's some questions there based on your public behavior. What conclusions can we draw from that? And that's going to be an interesting one. But I think they're going to take aim at him. I think Hegseth is the tallest nail right now. That's
sure. And that's the way the Democrats work. They'll find any avenue by which to rip apart your personal life and then try to stop you. Terry in Texas, maybe the Republicans in the Senate are actually doing their job as opposed to the Democrats. Trump is president, not king. He doesn't rule anything. And Trump supporters need to remember separate but equal branches of government. Quit whining, he says. Start following the Constitution.
I love Terry's view on that. And here's the thing, Terry. I appreciate that. And I think you're 110% right about some of the senators doing their job. The problem is, I think, and Jeff and I have talked about this, I think Trump views Congress as a bug, not a feature. I think he views Congress as an impediment to what he needs to get done, that he views them as extraneous, that if he had to rewrite the rules, Congress wouldn't exist because they stop him from implementing what he wants. And the reason I think that is because how he operates in his private business life. He doesn't have anything like Congress that would ever do anything and ask questions about what he's doing and why. We have from former Trump organization CFO, the guy that is running the accounting books, was happy to commit fraud for him. That's what he wants. He needs someone that will fall in line, not ask questions. So for me, that kind of is where I go back to, and I'd be curious to see what you think. And you give us a call at 303-696-1971, or anybody else that has a thought. Is this actually one of the problems Trump is facing, where he thinks he is king, where he wants to push this through? Did he try originally to strong arm these people and say, these are who I'm picking, regardless of ability or qualification, but because they're mine, you must make sure they are anointed.
And also,
What are your thoughts on that?
it makes the argument that you could also make the argument that he wanted Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
He went and started to have the conversations, realized it wasn't
Yeah.
going to happen, has withdrawn.
And-
So he's working with the Senate.
Yeah. And I heard, and I don't know if, and this has not been confirmed, I heard someone behind the scenes, and again, this is nothing more than a rumor, and I don't know if it's even conjecture by them. So I'm not going to put any actual weight behind it. But someone had said part of the early conversations were other choices came in and said, well, sir, this, and I have constraints in the law for this. And yes, I can see where you want us to do this, but we have to understand we have to work within the system. And Matt Gaetz is like, I will give you all of their heads in a bag. You tell me who I need to kill, and I will deliver it to you, sir. And that was, and again, I'm being facetious big on how I'm presenting it, but that was the conversation that I had heard, that he went in and said, sir, I will be the hand of the king. You tell me who needs to fall in line, and I will make it so. And that was what he was looking for. And so it was the fulfillment of the promise. And the person making that comment is connected enough to know some of that. Again, I'm not sure if it's actually exactly what happened, but they said that was the promise, that Gaetz sold himself as the hand of the king from Game of Thrones. And then the background didn't matter at that point, because that's what Trump was looking for. So could it have created a blind spot?
Well,
because
does Pam Bondi provide that without all the necessarily the controversy? Because she has been with him for a long time.
I think she does.
Yep.
I think she does exactly that. I think she fulfills the role as the hand of the king, but she does it inside of the constraints that are available. And I think, again, if he were led with Pam Bondi, it's much smarter pick. I'm not certain that I would confirm her if I was in Senate. I have some questions about it, but stronger pick, much stronger pick, where I would have rejected Gaetz out of hand immediately because he's a clown.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Look, if you've got to sell your home in this market, I know it's a challenge out there. You can't go with somebody that's just a family member, friend, or neighbor. You've got to go with the very best. Did you know that last year, over 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took the initial listing? That's half. They went through the whole rigmarole. You sat down, you read the contracts, you signed the contracts, came in, took pictures, negotiated the price, went out there and marketed it, and then you had to do it all over again with another agent? Goodness gracious. This cost home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast, and they get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this using their proven proprietary systems and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience, a track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in the service they provide and the results that they can get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time, no cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD or visit gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Residents of Bucks County showing up to the Board of Commissioners meeting this week angry and calling for the Democrat members of the board who decided to count illegal ballots in defiance of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling to resign. Some even saying they're taking matters even further.
Diane is emotional and out of control. Is there even a meeting where she isn't calling someone names?
We've been called election deniers, racists, conspiracy theorists, liars. Did I leave anything out? We, the people of Bucks County, are fed up.
I want to let you know that I'm not going to take it anymore. I have decided to file a criminal complaint against both of you.
You had $5 million to clear the voter rolls and handle this election. What did you do with the money? It certainly wasn't all for overtime. And by the way, I'm going to echo again what people are saying. You both need to resign now.
The average rate on a 30-year mortgage in the U.S. edged closer to 7% this week, climbing to its highest level since July. Mortgage buyer Freddie Mac said Thursday that the rate rose to 6.84% from 6.78% last week, but still down from a year ago when the rate averaged 7.29%. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Pam Bondi heading out. I didn't know much about Pam Bondi, but I mean, she's got a lot of experience. Here's somebody on MSNBC talking about her. MSNBC.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that with a little more depth with both of you.
So MSNBC going, no, she's the real deal. She was the first female attorney general of Florida, serving in that office from 2011 to 2019, led all these prosecutions, is close to Donald Trump. Bill, early on, it seemed to me that his cabinet picks were not necessarily marked by strict obedience to him, although many of them are. Not necessarily tremendous amounts of experience, but it seems to be a Florida delegation. He's bringing everybody from Florida. A lot of his everyone from Marco Rubio to some of the other picks up there, they all seem to be, many of them, Florida based. That seems to be what he's going to be taking on up to Washington, D.C. with him.
I think so. And I think that the guy on MSNBC is right, that she is competent, that she has the ability and she has the experience. And that's been my pushback is, are they competent? Do they have the experience? Do they have the ability to do it? And, regardless of if you agree or disagree with how she ran the Florida AG's office, she ran it well. And there's very little inside of her background that I would use to, ding her and say there are reasons why I have questions. But I would have a hard time saying, even though I have those questions about her, that given her ability and experience, from what I know right now, and again, I don't know, I haven't done a deep dive, but from what I know, if I was
Trump University will be the issue she's got to get over.
Exactly. That's where I was going. That's going to be the one. But other than that, I have a hard time figuring out that if I was either a Republican or a Democrat in Senate, how I could reasonably vote against her. Now, if I was a Democrat, I would do it on party lines because you're supposed to when you're a Democrat, because that's you have to play the stupid game. But as much as I hate it, that's what you're supposed to do. That's why I would never be elected. But I have a hard time finding some of those reasonable, really good questions, because it seems to me that even though I would have some questions about her, it is a competent choice by the president-elect. And that, to me, seems to be the requirement, ability and competency, regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree with the politics, because if you're on the other side of the aisle, you're going to disagree with the politics. But yeah, the biggest problem she's going to have is going to be Trump University. And you may remember, and our audience might remember this as well, we had a brief conversation with Kamala Harris, and one of my biggest problems with Kamala Harris was her lack of movement during the housing crisis. And one of the largest housing scammers in all of America was in California. She had them dead to rights and decided not to file. And I still will never forgive her for that, because people lost houses because this company lied. This company filed dirty paperwork. They filed paperwork that was backdated. They made claims that were provably false based on how time works, based on when checks cleared. They would say that certain letters were sent out and given to homeowners, and the homeowners would say, no, I have the letter they sent me. The dates are wrong, and here's when it arrived. So they were lying over and over again, and she had them, and she let them walk. Side note, the company was run by former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Yes, the Republican. And the fun part about that, and Jeff may remember this one, is where Steve Mnuchin got his investment money from Mr. George Soros. So again, that entire thing, I will never forgive.
Bill, you make great arguments for the Uniparty all the time.
I do. There is some part of that, and I hate that, and that's what I'm worried about with Pam, is the Trump University. Is that there were charges that were alleged. There were complaints that were alleged in both Florida and New York. And New York went after them, and Florida didn't. And the thing that hurts is she received donations from Trump. And so the narrative that is going to be hard to push back on is going to be, was it, I'm going to send this donation in hopes that this charge goes away. And I don't know if the Democrats are clever enough. I don't know. But if they are, they can go back through the Mueller investigation, because there's a portion in there where Donald Trump is asking staff members in the White House, and this has been certified as far as testimony, how much can I pay Mueller to make this go away? He was viewing it as a civil suit, not something criminal. And so they said, no, sir, this is different. This is not, because most of the stuff that he'd been brought up were civil. So he was looking at some sort of a settlement. So it would make sense to give money to Pam in order to make this go away. But I don't know if the Democrats are smart enough or have the ability based on the timeline to make that argument and make it stick. Again, I'm not sure it's going to do anything to stop her either. Because again, if I was there making the votes, I'd probably vote to confirm her based on what I know now.
We'd love to get your phone calls on this. How do you feel about Matt Gaetz, Pam Bondi, the switch that's happening there? Also, Pete Hegseth, where do you think that's all going to go? Is he going to get through? Give us a call. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
You know, Billy, people are wrapping up a very challenging week. It's been a long week. It feels like yesterday should have been Thanksgiving. You got a whole other week. Let's give the people what they want.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we get to play the loser edition of You Choose the News, the stories that were discarded earlier this week and come back for a second chance.
You are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club.
Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser. You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser. You are such a loser. Loser.
Yes, it is a phrase that is often uttered by my very children towards me, somewhat derogatorily. Loser edition, if you choose the news. Yes, these stories were not deemed worthy of our attention earlier this week, so they come back with a second shot of glory. You know how we do this. Stupid stories in my hands, more ridiculous headlines, and shh, it's a secret because nobody in charge knows we're doing it this time. So, got to keep this a little quiet for us. Alrighty, gentlemen, here are your returning stories from earlier in the week. Headline number 1, Bigfoot-style healthcare. Headline number 2, Satan agrees. Headline number 3, felony fromage. And number 4, it'll be cold. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Always love me some fromage. Let's go check out the felony fromage.
Yes, felony fromage. Recently, the RMCP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, said they have foiled an attempt at a heist. This was organized crime. This was something where they were going to come in and take more than $500,000 of product. What were they stealing? Cheese. Yes. Cheese from a Whole Foods in North Vancouver. Yes.
Whole Foods?
Yes. Yeah. They had gone in and they were taking a whole bunch of cheese. They were going out there and basically at the time they caught the perpetrators trying to leave with more than $13,000 of cheese at the store. And that uncovered a crime ring that was responsible for more than $500,000 of thefts in and around Vancouver in the area. Because evidently cheese prices have gone up and there's a black market for cheese.
I will pay. We go to dairies.
Yes.
My wife and I we don't go necessarily wine tasting. We'll do a little bit of that, but we like to go cheese testing.
Ooh.
So I will pay good money for good cheese.
Now, okay, what is your favorite kind of cheese if we had to just
stinkier the better, brother.
Really?
Just make it stinky and tasty.
Now,
just explosions of taste.
Here's the point now. I agree with you. I do like the stinky cheese. I think that's a sign of a well-aged cheese. You can get, good Swiss, you can get a cheddar. You've got some of the
blue
Havarti.
cheese all night. Yep.
Oh, blue cheese all night, and in the morning. Blue cheese is fantastic. Now, here's the big question. Now, Blake's got to listen to this one to see if Jeff and I can still be friends. Hard cheese or soft cheese?
I can go either way.
Yeah,
hard cheese.
Yeah, hard cheese. Soft cheese is crap.
Hard cheese.
Yeah.
Triscuits.
Yeah, hard. Yeah, soft cheese is just cottage cheese that gave up. That's all it is. That's all. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Is.
It's
that's
off. Yeah.
Point.
Oh, yeah. No soft cheese. Always the hard cheeses. Yes. Speaking of hard cheese, you can fill in your own joke there. It's time for Blake Olson's choice this morning. Headline number 1, sir. Bigfoot style healthcare. Satan agrees or it'll be cold.
Okay, let's go with Satan agrees.
Yes, Satan agrees. He agrees with your choice. And in fact, Al-Qaeda has found itself curiously in agreement with Satan recently. Yes, but not the man in hell. They're talking about the great Satan of Earth. Yes, America. And the latest issue of the Al-Qaeda English language magazine, Inspire, because we all need to be inspired to strap things on our body and go boom. The author says and takes offense to the ridiculous theory spread by Ahmadinejad in Iran that the 9/11 terrorist attacks were actually carried out by the U.S. government. Yes, Al-Qaeda is saying, no, not a false flag. The great Satan is right. And also, we might have been involved. That might have been the article. So,
did you say that was a magazine?
Yes, they published a magazine, and the best part is called Insight. I'm like, I disagree with that on its premise. I don't think that's what we're doing.
Insight into child brides, brought to you by Afghanistan's Taliban.
Yes, and I love the fact that means there's a marketing department somewhere that has to sit down and do this. And,
right,
and
exactly.
Who advertises? Who are the possible advertisers for the? Yeah,
what are the fashion pages?
Yes, exactly. Like? I'm sorry. It's also the fashion pages, but it's also the white seal for all the sheets and stuff at the department store, because I am awful. I'm horrible. I'm going to get hurt. Okay, we got one more choice here. You're going to have 20 seconds, Jeff. Bigfoot healthcare or it'll be cold?
Bigfoot
healthcare. Yes, this might be a sign of drugs. Recently, a California hospital said a man that came in during an emergency was on drugs and climbed into the roof and got stuck. They had to bring him out. He was supposed to be in the emergency room, and he decided, I'm going to climb into the ceiling. So they had to pull him out.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, not surprisingly, drugs were involved. Yeah,
it's off the rails over here. You're listening to
It's
the
at
Jeff and Bill
rails.
Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve Coffee Maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Why do we continue to make people listen to that cackle? We're just torching you on this Friday morning. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It's 7 a.m. Mile High City on this Friday, November 22nd. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole hour planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Just grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Mayor Mike Johnston out there calling for police, Denver police, to stand against illegal immigrants, Nope. Against federal law enforcement officials in their effort to bring about mass deportations. He wants to order the police to confront them. Well, we talked a lot about this yesterday. Yesterday, I asked Denver police to text me anonymously, DM me through X, tell me what's going on within the DPD, all this stuff. We got some responses. You're not going to want to miss what's happening within DPD on this. And we're going to also talk with Mike Boyle about what he's doing this Thanksgiving, all the great places to eat. He's got a gathering I think he's putting together tomorrow. We'll talk with him as well. So first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. Sounds great. 33 and cloudy in Denver, Jeff and Billy, expecting a high of 60 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, DJT says Matt Gaetz has a wonderful future ahead of him after the former congressman withdrew his nomination for attorney general. Gaetz withdrew Thursday after some Republican senators expressed reservations about the nomination. Pam Bondi is 47's new choice for AG.
This is just one big press conference trying to smear Donald Trump, trying to hurt Donald Trump. The gag order is completely illegal. The rights, again, go to the defendant. They're letting Michael Cohen out there do these ridiculous TikTok videos, screaming and yelling, yet Donald Trump can't defend himself.
Yes,
so this entire case has just been one big press conference trying to smear Donald Trump, but it's failed miserably.
Bondi helped expose Judge Mersham early in the summer. Steve Bannon and Mike Davis say AG Merrick Garland is on edge these days.
NBC News reports that Merrick Garland was stunned on election night and that senior Justice Department officials were weeping. That's up on the stack if you go to Citizens Free Press right now in Kane. What does that tell you, Davis?
They should be panicked. They should be fearful. They should be crying because they have politicized and weaponized our justice systems at every level. They did this with the intel agencies with Crossfire Hurricane.
And the lefties will continue to go after Pete Hegseth. This nut right here is Ruth Ann Hyatt.
Again, they are considering doing this groundbreaking, unprecedented thing of using the U.S. military for domestic repression, domestic operations. And it's important that Hegseth has tattoos that are linked to far-right extremism. And we know, of course, the military is a strictly nonpartisan institution. And it's also interesting that he was making videos selling grenade soap. He was selling ammo.
Oh.
Now, of course, the U.S. military uses government-issued ammo. He was selling something, not a handgun someone might keep around the house to defend. He was selling something for grenades, military-level weapons. And who buys those? Who's not in the military? Militias.
It was soap
American
on a rope.
Citizens do. Was it soap on a rope?
Yeah.
Really?
They were grenades that were soap on a rope.
Shut up. No way.
That's the photo. I'm looking at this. It's soap on a rope. So
even if it was, I'm like,
I
mean,
exactly.
Fun,
yeah,
you know?
Exactly. I wonder if they explode in the shower. I think that'd be pretty cool. With
those
with
bath
the liquid
bombs,
soap. Right? Yeah. A bath bomb. That's right. They're bath bombs. That's what it is. Hey, the Supreme Court will release its first opinion of the term this morning at 8. The High Court heard 9 cases in October, including arguments over the federal court jurisdiction, so-called ghost guns, and the Oklahoma death penalty. The court has not said which case opinion or opinions will be released. President Biden says the ICC arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is outrageous. The International Criminal Court issued warrants on Thursday for Netanyahu and his former defense secretary, accusing them of war crimes in the Gaza Strip. The trial of the Aurora dentist James Craig, accused of killing his wife last year, is being delayed for a third time. The lawyer for the 45-year-old Craig withdrew his withdrew from the case Thursday as jury selection was set to begin. Harvey Steinberg cited actions by his client that he believed were criminal and or fraudulent as one of his reasons for quitting the case. John Benet Ramsey's father is still hopeful his daughter's killer will be caught nearly 30 years after the murder. 80-year-old John Ramsey.
I believe it can be solved if the police accept help from outside their system. Today, finding the killer is not going to change my life. I've lost John Benet. It's not going to bring John Benet back. I would like to close this chapter.
Says he hopes that advances in DNA technology can help open new leads in the 1996 murder. He was joined on the Today Show by Joe Berlinger, the director of the soon-to-be-released Netflix docuseries out next week. College football weekend number 16. CU at Kansas tomorrow at 1:30. CSU at Fresno State tomorrow night. Air Force at Nevada. 12th ranked Boise State at Wyoming, and UNC at Portland State tomorrow. The Broncos on Sunday at the Raiders. Boy, what a game last night in the blizzard conditions in Cleveland. The Browns
crazy?
That was so cool, man.
That was nuts.
That was awesome.
That's like old school football out there. They're all dropping passes. No one can run more than 3 yards because they're slipping. In between plays, they're running the little shovels out there to get rid of all the snow.
And
Judy made some big catches.
Yeah. Boo. I'm sorry. I'm a little frustrated. I'm glad that he's finding success in Cleveland, but I was frustrated based on seeing that performance there versus performance here. And so, but it was great. It was a good night for him. And of course, you had a couple of Cleveland fans still shirtless late in the fourth.
Yes, I know. That was awesome, man.
I was like, wow,
love it.
That's nuts. I'm like, how drunk are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they live in Cleveland. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of an adaptation.
Dog pound.
You have to.
They're-
Yes.
all the people are still in the stadium, and they probably stayed there all night, man.
And I heard I didn't see it on, because I almost as soon as the game ended, it was late. And so I clicked it off almost immediately. But I had heard there was a fight between a Pittsburgh Steeler member and a Cleveland Browns member afterwards. I haven't found anything more about it, but I've heard that it just ran across my timeline this morning. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But it was post game. Like, dude.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So there's guys on Instagram and TikTok who will go to games wearing the visiting team's jersey and then walk around afterwards antagonizing the losing team.
Oh, geez.
Just to get views. I'm like, I don't really believe in survival of the fittest and, evolution and stuff. But when I watch that, I'm like, you know what? There's something God built into this system.
And here's
if you walk around like that, you're gonna die probably.
And here's the thing: is
probably.
What would you imagine this? That let's say you are, for whatever reason, you and your buddies, a few too many, and guy says something to you, and then says something, and you or your friend takes a swing, and it becomes kinetic, and now there's a potential assault. However, what happens when you're able to prove on the social medias that he is trying to instigate
You're
something.
like instigating it. Yeah.
You're looking for a confrontation.
turns.
So what happens when you're going around looking for the confrontation, then the confrontation happens? What happens to your personal responsibility if you get exactly what you were looking for, that confrontation? You may not have wanted to get punched in the face, but guess what? That person walking out of the venue also didn't want to be confronted by someone specifically trying to piss them off. If you're another fan, that can be different. But if your goal is to create this confrontation,
yes,
okay, what do you
get the
do?
payday,
Yeah.
or get the big payday.
Exactly.
Now my wife's looking at it. She's watching. And she's like, "Go to the locker room. It's snowing. I mean, the game's over. Why see it? The player, you can't take the bait if you're a player."
The other part that it's always, and again, God, okay, we can go down this field a little bit. One of the clubs.
What did you do?
It is what I did. One of the club soccer teams I played with, we were rough. We had the reputation. We were fighters. If you were interested in a bench clearing brawl, we are happy to participate at the drop of a hat. We were the fighters. We were the team that you knew that if you got out of line and you said something wrong to us, we got no problem beating up your entire team and your friends and family. That was what we were.
So you were the rugby team and they were the soccer team?
We actually, the Colorado Youth Soccer Association had an entire hearing about us, and we were there as to whether or not
Hey,
our
you sound
team,
like my type of soccer
dude,
team. man.
they were talking about whether or not they
Because
were
it
going
sounds
to
more like football.
yeah,
Yeah,
they were going to
exactly.
forcibly disband the team because of how bad
my
we were.
goodness.
Oh,
You
this is-
guys
oh,
probably
yeah.
weren't hurting anyone.
Yeah, we were. Yes, we were. I will admit that now because statute of limitations expired. Yes, we were. We had.
It was just elbows,
Oh,
right?
No.
How old were you?
This would have been between the ages of 15 and 18. Would have been. So it's in those prime fighting
You
years.
wonder
man,
why
they
Billy
don't like
needs
that.
balanced well space.
Yeah, exactly. And
Did they throw those purple cards at you or the
no.
red cards?
Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay,
or
so you understand
pink
red cards.
cards?
Red cards are when you're tossed out of the game. So you get two
Okay.
yellow cards and it's a red card. A yellow card is a warning.
Uh-huh.
Our team had more red cards accumulated than the number 2 team had yellow cards.
Uno.
So we had more people thrown out of a game than the second place team had warnings. That's who we were. Yes.
That's awesome.
We
I
were
think
You
bad.
loved every moment of
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah, it was great. But the other part is that I didn't understand is we were in these bench clearing brawls and we're soccer players. I don't understand.
Clearing
Oh yeah.
brawls.
I watched a friend of mine. Beat up most of the kickers team by himself. And it
I
was.
would have paid to see that.
Oh, dude, okay, I'll get into that in a second. And I'll talk about that. But I don't understand why the football players are fighting when they have all the stuff on. The
Yeah,
helmets and the
that's a
shoulder
good
pads.
point.
I'm like, we fought.
Great
We were just in
point.
uniforms. At least you can hurt the person. So my buddy is standing there, and I won't talk about how it started, but we're playing this team, and they were the Denver Kickers, and everyone who played soccer at the time knows, and they were kind of the pretty boys, etc. So it was like the martial arts deal where he's standing there, and one by one they attack him, and he's just like pop down, pop, you're down. I saw him knock out almost 7 of their players on his own, and they're just one by one, and he's
Nice.
just turning around, just pow, pow,
Man.
pow, and they're laying on the ground. It looked like a martial arts film. Yes. Yeah, we were that team. You did not
Where
get
was
into a mess
this
with
news
us.
story? Where was 9 News when this was
Oh
going on?
no. Yeah, that was us. Yeah, we were.
That's a soccer
Yeah,
crowd,
we were.
by the way.
Yeah, we were. And so I don't understand when the football people start, fighting. You're like, you guys are wearing stuff. Take off the
Yeah,
helmets.
that's
Take off the
not
shoulder
smart.
pads.
No, I agree. That's
you can't
kinda
hit anybody.
stupid.
And this is coming from someone who has hit people
Yeah.
multiple times.
Man,
Yeah.
you guys were crazy.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I
I'll
wanna-
tell you stories
there's
off
gotta
the
be
air.
There's got to be some video of
Dude,
that. We got to find that.
Thankfully, there wasn't a lot of VHS cameras and stuff because you remember they were like the size
Yeah,
of a
that's
small
true.
child.
No, that's
Yeah.
a good point. That's good.
Yeah,
There had
so-
to have been
and
some
there were
really
and there were
bad
no cell
photos.
phones. Yeah, no. I
Yeah.
tell you, that would not
There's
have this
some
job. If there were
there's
cell
some
phones.
Polaroids somewhere.
Yes, there are. Yeah, and there also may have been some police reports. But I'm just saying.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We got to find this, man.
I'll tell you some
I
stories
love
off
it.
the air, my friend. I'll tell you some stories.
Grandfather
Yeah.
Claus. 31 in Glendale, 29 in Arvada, 33 in Denver. I love it. Jeff and Bill continue on Friday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Very mild, nice November weather for Denver. Upper 50s to the middle 60s today and tomorrow. Increasingly cloudy, 50s Sunday. Through midday Sunday dry. Overnight Sunday into Monday morning could bring some snow showers. Cooler Monday. Snow chances return. Late Tuesday into Wednesday and colder by midweek. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Dante in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, you know him from his regular shows on and he's a legend not only in the radio industry but the restaurant industry as well. Mike Boyle joins us. Good morning, Mike. Glad to have you on the program.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to be here. And before we get too far into this, Bill, I want you to know that there's been occasions when I've heard some of your opinions that I wanted to give you a red card.
Absolutely, my friend.
I
And
thought you were going to say
times I
punch him,
deserve it.
but
but
okay.
Here's the thing, though, is that Mike and I are friends. So if it was in another situation, absolutely, very punchable. There's some things that come out of my face that I'm absolutely punchable. I get it. And absolutely red cards, my friend. And I admire you for that, and I agree. Absolutely. Some things I say do deserve red cards. Absolutely.
Well, hopefully we can agree on Thanksgiving being a day for us, no matter what our challenges are as a society, as a family, as individuals. We've got a lot to be thankful for.
Amen to that. And there's a lot of tension following the election. You've probably even seen the videos out there of folks saying, I'm not going to invite those that voted differently than I to the Thanksgiving table this year. It's just crazy. It's time to get together. Time to spend family time, enjoy some good food.
I actually have a segment on my show called "You Can't Make This Stuff Up," and of course we're living in a target-rich environment right now. But I've read about people that have said they're not going to spend any money for the next 4 years except for a few essentials. They're not going to buy clothes. They're not going to buy cars. They're not going to buy anything they don't need because they want the economy to tank. I've seen articles and shared them on the air with women that are going to give up sex for 4 years because, listen, ladies, there's a lot of ladies out there that ought to be out of the gene pool anyway, but I'm telling you, they're going to give up sex for the next 4 years so that they don't bring anybody into the world that could possibly be a Trump supporter. I mean, there's some craziness going out there, and I'm sure that, but you know what they say? Hey, bring up politics at Thanksgiving, and it'll save you a lot of money on Christmas presents.
Well, now, what's your advice, Mike Boyle, host of the Restaurant Show on 710 KNUS, also his website, mikeboyle.com. What's your advice to family members getting together less than a week on how to deal with politics?
Well, and well, you know what? I'm old enough to remember when your parents told you don't discuss religion or politics. I've got a 24-hour-a-day job trying to run my own life. I'll let other people run theirs. But what I can do, I do think that good food brings us together, Jeff and Bill.
That's right.
And so what I did was I put together a list of places that people can still accommodate people for the last minute folks. So I thought that I would share some of those places with you. What do you think?
I think that's great because, look, we all focus in on the Thursday dinner next week, which is Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like us, we got family members that are going to be in starting Wednesday all the way through the weekend. So what other great restaurants are out there? Where can people go?
Well, I thought about, if you want to go in the Denver Tech Center, you've got the prime seafood place, Eddie V's. You've got prime steakhouses like Ruth Chris and the Capitol Grill, and they would love to see you. They take reservations, Fleming's. If you want to go a little bit more casual, the buffets like Golden Corral. I'm going to try to cover different economic stratas. I'm going to try to cover different geographic areas. But the Golden Corral, you know what? They do a wonderful job. View House in Centennial, View House in Colorado Springs. We've got a lot of listeners on KNUS in Colorado Springs. The View House in Springs in Centennial does an extremely beautiful upscale buffet. Runs about $49.95. There's a place out west called The Keg out in Denver West. So you live in Morrison, you live in Golden, you don't want to go too far. The Golden Hotel in downtown Golden is fabulous. You park, you walk through downtown Golden, you go to the hotel right on the river. There's a brand new hotel open at the North Gate for the Air Force Academy called the Hotel Polaris. They just opened 2 weeks ago, and they're doing Thanksgiving. So there's a lot of opportunities. I've got all these places listed on my website, and then for those up and down the Front Range, Jeff, one of our favorite places, the Black Eyed Pea, they don't take reservations, but they're open from 10 to 4 on Thanksgiving. And I'll tell you this, ladies, if you don't want to cook, the Black Eyed Pea has taken the to-go orders to a whole new level. I have been in on Thanksgiving a number of times. Their entire bar at each location will have to-go orders. And you can take it home, and you can have ham, turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, gravy, the rolls, the cranberry sauce. Put it on your own china, ladies, and your mother-in-law will think that you cooked it.
Oh, hey, I didn't even
Brilliant.
I didn't think of that, my friend. I was thinking just, the no prep and the no dishes. But the idea that you can fool the family members about how good of a cook you are, that's next level, man. That is next level. I love that idea. That's fantastic.
Well, and here's another thing. There's some of those like pre-baked hams and turkeys you can buy. I've had to stand in line for like 2 hours to get one of those one time.
Yep.
And it takes forever. You got to pre-order them. You got the huge wait, all that stuff. With the Black Eyed Pea app, you can get that all done right away and just roll up and grab it. It's amazing.
Well, and a lot of times, Jeff, a lot of restaurants will tell you, pick up your dinner the day before.
Smart.
The Black Eyed Pea, you can pick it up the day of.
Wow.
So if you're concerned with the heat, if you're concerned with the freshness, you can pick it up right on that day. And by the way, let me put in a little plug for the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show, folks. If you go to my website, mikeboyle.com, MikeBoyle.com, I've listed all these places on the homepage, Jeff and Bill. So that might help people. I know they're driving to work. They can't write it down. They maybe can't remember this. And my contact information is there. And I always take calls and email if that'll help somebody out as well. But there's some really good, a lot of people say, well, every place closes on Thanksgiving. No, they don't. The places that open, they know that it's a big deal and they do it well. So the places I've suggested, you're going to have a good time. You're going to really enjoy yourself.
I'll post that on my X account too, but if you go to mikeboyle.com and then under the upcoming events, I think you click on Happy Thanksgiving. You've got all those restaurants listed there. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Perfect. Now you got an event coming up on Saturday.
Tomorrow, I'm actually going to be down at a place called Louis Pizza in Colorado Springs because I collect gift cards. We did a toy drive through the show for 20 years. And then all of a sudden, the shutdown, I refuse to call it COVID. The shutdown came in 2020. And TAPS, the organization that supports families that have lost active duty service members in the line of duty, they said, well, we can't do toy drives. We can't get the people together. I said, no. We're going to just switch over and we're going to do gift cards. And it has worked so well, Jeff and Bill, that it's become a national model for TAPS because, maybe you don't need a toy as a young boy or girl. Maybe as a teenager, you'd like some clothes. So people are giving $25 gift cards to Walmart and Amazon. And yes, they give them to restaurants as well. So tomorrow is the big day when people will bring the gift cards to me. And last year we put together, $15,000 in gift cards. It may not sound like a lot, but when you're doing it in $20, $25 increments, and then the TAPS coordinator for the state can make sure that the people that need it all over the state of Colorado, maybe you're a widow with a child, maybe you're a widow with 2 or 3 or 4 children, that way the coordinator can coordinate those gift cards. And so that information is on my website.
That is so cool. And I love the fact that you do that because with those kids and those families involved in TAPS, and understand that, for people of our age, the idea of just handing them a gift card doesn't seem personal because you haven't picked out a present. There's not that joy of, oh my gosh, opening it up. But what the audience should understand is with those TAPS gift cards, what you're allowing those families to do is to make their own choices. You're giving those kids the opportunity to go shopping for themselves, to choose the things that they want more than anything else. But more than that, imagine when you're a kid and you remember that moment when you're walking down that toy aisle and you have your allowance money in your hand and it is a world of possibilities. That's what you are handing them with those gift cards. You are giving them the choice. You're giving them that world of possibilities that you enjoyed as a kid. Same thing with the restaurant gift cards. You're giving them an opportunity to go out and have something special that they normally don't, that they may not have the ability to, they may not have the financial resources to, or anything else. It just could be a very nice break from getting out of the house, spending time with the family. You know how much fun you have when you're out sitting with restaurants and how it's different than when you're all sitting around the table. It's a different experience. It's a different sense of community. And also, as those kids and those families are sitting there, they understand what you have done for them. They understand what you have made as far as the effort. So yeah, those gift cards are something that is really, really special. People really should lean into that and check it out at Mike Boyle's website. Please help him out.
Billy, I agree with you 100%. And I will tell you, I came to the gift card party late because I thought it's lazy shopping.
Yeah.
And the more I thought about it, yes, you let that person get what they need. It's actually a gift selfishly, Bill and Jeff, that gives twice. You give it and they say, oh, how nice. This is so thoughtful of this person to give me this gift card. And then it actually gives again when you go use it at the restaurant or at a store or on Amazon. So there's just a lot of benefits with those gift cards.
All right. So Mike Boyle, I got to ask you this question. I'm going to ask you this, Billy, too. Top 2 things you got to have in your Thanksgiving dinner and 2 things you never want to see at your Thanksgiving dinner. Go ahead, Mike.
Mashed potatoes and gravy. I'm a bachelor and I don't cook mashed potatoes and gravy. And when I can go out and get it and get some stuffing, yeah, I love the turkey. Yeah, I love the ham. But my Thanksgiving's got to have mashed potatoes, stuffing, and gravy.
Oh, that's a good one.
As far as the thing that I never want to see on a Thanksgiving presentation, liver and onions.
And now that's a callback.
And I know that listen, liver and onion eaters, they're a cult. And you know what? They love it. I'll tell you something else too. I really don't like, I was being a little silly with the liver and onions. I don't like cranberry sauce that has the berries in it. I like it the smooth cranberry sauce.
Right out of the can?
Yeah.
Yep, right out of the can.
Yeah, see, and I can see that, and I understand that liver and onions reference.
I know you're saying, and this guy's the restaurant guy.
No,
right,
you're
right
playing,
out of the can.
you're playing my song, Mike. One, because the liver and onions call back, because a couple of months ago I was talking to my kids and we're talking food, etc. And I talked to them about how my mom made liver and onions as a kid, and they looked at me with a kind of a stare in their eyes, as if I was raised feral, as if it was just.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
They should have called social services about that.
Yes, they should have. They really should have. Now, I like the jellied cranberries because for me, that is a must-have, and it breaks my mother's heart. Oh, yeah, because she's from Wisconsin, and she has an amazing cranberry recipe that is wonderful. It is a family secret that once she passes away, I'm going to get it, and it's going to be wonderful, and I'm so excited because it is delicious. But if I don't have that cranberries that go as they fall out of the can, it's not Thanksgiving. And it disappoints my mom every single year. Now, for me, this is something that is somewhat of a problem inside of our family. I cannot stand yams. That yams, the stupid marshmallow stuff on top is ridiculously stupid.
Yeah,
I hate it. And for some reason, I have done a very, very poor job parenting because most of my kids like it. And my wife does as well. So I don't know why, but I'm cursed with that on the table every darn Thanksgiving.
Are your kids adopted?
Well, no, but if you're interested, I'll give you the yam ones if you want, because I don't need them around Thanksgiving at all. You can have them if you want.
Well, listen, I appreciate the time. I know the listeners appreciate the time, and all I would say from the heart is I hope that all of the listeners to KNUS just have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And if there's anything I can do to help you get out and about, to find a place, just go to my website. My cell phone is there. I take myself. I'm one of these people that answers the phone, and send me a text, call me, send me an email, and I'll do whatever I can to help you enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Lots of great options provided by Mike Boyle. You can learn more by going to mikeboyle.com. Mike, thanks so much for taking time to join us today.
Yeah, thanks, and happy Thanksgiving if I don't get to see you.
And thank you so much for having me. Great job, guys.
Mike Boyle with the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show on 710 KNUS, Saturdays 3 to 5, Sundays 10 to noon.
Hands down, best restaurant show in the city, and has
Absolutely.
been for decades.
And Bill, I have had this thought.
Yeah.
Not just now, but in the past, Mike chose a better career path.
Oh, absolutely.
I spend my time with politicians.
Yeah.
He spends his time with small business owners, entrepreneurs, restaurateurs, traveling, eating.
We are we're social media friends, and I am often disappointed in my choices in life when I scan his, and he's like, "I'm eating here today. Look at this wonderful restaurant
on my way to Mexico."
Yes. And the number of amazing restaurants that he finds in and around the Denver metro area is ridiculous. And I'm like, there's sometimes he finds things in my area, and I'm like, I didn't know about that. How come I didn't know? And he's there eating, and of course, the plates look great, and he's telling the story about the restaurant. Yeah, he's a great guy, and especially what he's doing for Taps. That is a really special thing in my heart as well. So check out MikeBoyle.com. If you can help him out with the gift cards, that is fantastic. And also, he's got some great recommendations if you want to fool the family on how good of a Thanksgiving cook you are. Just don't do the dishes.
And I'll be honest, no one cares if you were the one that did it. It's nice that you put in all the work, and we don't want to dismiss that. But at the end of the day, it's about quality.
Yes, you are
and
absolutely
good tastes.
Right. Yep.
And you know what? If you go out there and you get it from the Black Eyed Pea, great. People have a wonderful experience.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to put yourself through all that stress. By the way, speaking of the Black Eyed Pea, do want to remind you this Thanksgiving, they're open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But with all the family coming into town, they've got these daily specials. They've got senior discounts. Be sure to check out their new menu items, the stuffed spuds, 8 different and delicious baked potatoes. Here's just a few: the chopped steak spud, the sweet pork spud, the meatloaf stuffed spud, my daughter's favorite, and the broccoli cheese stuffed spud. There's more. Everyone in your party is sure to find a favorite. Make your dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event a success with the Black Eyed Pea catering. And no matter what occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. Whether you purchase them for your spouse, birthday favors, holiday presents, they've got you covered. I love everything about this restaurant, and I know you will as well. Keep it in Colorado. Visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. In addition to all those stuffed spuds, Thanksgiving Day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., they'll be serving your very holiday favorites: roasted turkey, breast dinner, old-fashioned country ham, slow-cooked pot roast, all for just $24. There's a kids menu as well. Bring the whole family. Save room for dessert, pumpkin or pecan pie, or the cherry cobbler with ice cream. Plus all those holiday catering options we were just talking to you about. Check out the Black Eyed Pea, 8 locations around Denver, so there's one that's sure to be close to you. All right, we'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Bucks County Commissioner Diane Ellis Marseglia, who angered residents by defiantly saying she would count illegal ballots despite the Pennsylvania Supreme Court order not to, is backtracking on her comments, but doesn't seem too happy about it.
But I remind you all that we all say things that are out of turn. We all make mistakes. I made a mistake. If you would just bear with me for one more minute. Unfortunately, I took my frustration out on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
The Democrat members of the board were pummeled during a commissioners' meeting by residents who didn't take too lightly to them breaking the law.
I know this pains you losing liberals, but you're going to have to get some TDS training. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. Because there's not going to be any more DEI. There's no more men and women's sports. There's not going to be any more rapists and murderers coming over the border.
You've called all of us here extremists, MAGA extremists, white Christian nationalists, all kinds of horrible names.
Compared to all of you, being called garbage doesn't seem to be so bad.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K-Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We just made the entire city of Denver hungry. As we spoke with Mike Boyle, he's got a list of all the restaurants that are open on Thanksgiving that will also provide catering for you. So make life easier for you. Just go to MikeBoyle.com. That's MikeBoyle.com. You know him from 710 KNUS. He hosts the restaurant show on Saturdays, 3 to 5, Sundays, 10 to noon. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Dwayne Divide. Good morning, Dwayne. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, Mr. Boyles is really an amazing person. I worked with him years ago, and he's just pure class, pure style. And you can't really say anything bad about him. And if you do, we know what kind of character you are.
Yep.
So that said, we're looking about Mr. Gates. Have you ever noticed his skin? It looks alien-like.
Yes. And his eyebrows. He's always surprised now. I don't know what happened. But
Well,
yeah.
he and Nancy can be that way, but
Yes, I know. I was thinking that too.
it's like one of those type things where it's like, I really think that if Trump is as smart as I believe he is in many ways, he used an old Bushido samurai technique. You sit there and say, okay, who's our worst person? And they, who was the turncoat? Who went up against McCarthy? Well, that was Gates. And who was the guy who was just a sycophant towards Trump? Well, that was Gates.
Yeah.
So he put him out there, let him roast a little bit, make sure they destroyed his character just enough that he'll never come back and beg for a thing.
Wow.
And just sat there and said, let's make him the sacrificial one. That way everybody in the Democratic side can go, well, we don't have anybody to argue against. Trump sat there and gave up one of his own. And there's no fire to burn because there's no fire to start.
Okay. Now, Dwayne, here's the crazy part about this is I love the fact you brought that up because, friend of the show, Mary from Wyoming, had called me off air during the break at the top of this last hour. And that was pretty much her theory as well. She felt that Gates was such a wart inside of the House and had the potential, because of what he had done with McCarthy, to derail some things and to be a troublemaker, that this was a plan to get him out of the way. And what she was pointing at, which again is, for my, I think it's very intelligent and very insightful, is the fact that Gates resigned beforehand rather than staying in Congress and waiting for the approval process.
So that's because the order came from the top.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's the question is, and she's pointing at the idea that him, stepping out and not having the next job secured shows somewhat of the play. And does that then play into your theory, Dwayne, that they moved him out of the way knowing that he was going to be pilloried and then he is not going to be a problem?
DeSantis won't even use him to refill Rubio's seat. He's dead politically and all on this. One of my best COs, he used to sit there and run the 5 concept. He'd sit there, and if he knew people were sitting there starting to backbite, he'd sit there and put out 5 different stories. And as soon as the one story popped out on one person, he found them, cut them down verbally and everything else, and just reassigned them. And it was the best way to do things. It keeps the cohesion of everything going smoothly. Because if you do not have a positive workflow and there's one hiccup, that's bad. But one hiccup can lead to 2, 4, 6. Next thing you know, everybody's trying to do their own thing, and you can't do that. So I look forward to seeing what's going to happen here. But I really believe that Gates was just so ready to suck up to, President Trump. President-elect, that he just sat there and said, I'll do it. You got to resign. You got to make sure this is a clean break. Okay. And then he jumped out, and then it was like, he found out he didn't have any flooring underneath.
Do you think Pam Bondi is going to get through?
I love Pam Bondi in many ways. I really do. I think she's smart. She's intelligent. She's certainly able to sit there and handle in front of a camera. But her intellectual level and her studies and everything are really beyond par. She seems to be very stoned on concept to the Constitution, which is really nice because we've been getting away from it. And I really believe that she's going to be able to sit there and handle things, and she's not going to wilt or sit there and fall away from any questions. I really look that she's going to be a strong individual. I like most all of his team. I'm a little bit worried about some things of RFKJ, but I also like some of the things he's going to do. So, but overall, I'm kind of happy with everybody.
All right, Dwayne, last question for you before you run. What do you got planned next week with your family?
The neighbors have found out I was on the Iron Chef. So now I'm having to do 15 different turkey dinners complete. 7 deep fried and others, and then little man, Well, you know.
I didn't know you
can
were
make
on
a
the
few bucks.
Iron Chef.
Well,
I
if
didn't know you were
looked at my-
taking orders. We gotta talk. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, it's one of those things of like, as soon as one person tried something of mine at a bake sale at the school a few years ago, it was like, can you do it? Yeah, I can do that here. And next thing you know, I'm spread all over the county, and not in a good way by all the ladies with my talents. And I sit there and I do different things. But yeah, I got 7 deep fries I got to do. And the whole thing I do is I get it to where half an hour in the oven, everything comes out perfect. So that way everybody can do the whole thing like Mr. Boyle was talking about. Put it on your own china and nobody will know the difference. So yeah, we got to do all that. So little man, he comes to me and he's almost in tears. He's 14 now. And I was like, what's the matter, buddy? He goes, you're making all that food. I said, yeah, I know. He goes, I said, what do you want? You want a turkey roll with bacon or something? He goes, Uncle Dwayne? I said, yes, sir. He goes, can I just have your nachos? Excuse me? Your nachos, those really great nachos you make. I said, will that make you happy? He goes, yeah, it really would. I said, would you be thankful for nachos? He goes, it's the first thing I remember being 5 years old. And I said, honey, I'll make you nachos without even breaking a sweat.
Right out of Ratatouille there. Great,
Yeah,
Dwayne. That sounds good.
So we do what we do, but yeah, it's kind of nice. We have just 2 of us this year, unless we can find some lady that'll sit there and take the calming solution, i.e. chloroform, and then sit at the table and not be crying, going, I don't want to die. Otherwise, we should have a pretty good time out here for Thanksgiving up here in the mountains.
That's great. Dwayne, great call. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
we'll
thanks a lot.
continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Matt Gaetz out of here. What's he going to do next? Let's go to Malcolm. Aurora, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. I think, underline the word think, that you're incorrect because he resigned his present Senate seat, but he is also the elected, so he can go in right after as the elected.
Now that's interesting. That's interesting, Malcolm. And I think you may have somewhat of a point there. It depends on what the language is, because I know that during Gaetz's supposed resignation, he used the phrase he does not intend to take the oath for his next term of office. And
interesting.
Yeah, so you might have something there, man, because of the use of that specific verb intend. There may be some wiggle room in there. You might be right.
Yeah. Okay. That's all.
Hey, thanks, man. Hey, have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Thank
you.
I think you're right. He resigned his current seat from the 118th Congress, but is representative-elect of the 119th Congress.
Yeah, so with the and does intend.
So the libs get Matt back.
Yeah, and does intend give him the wiggle room to come back and say, well, I wasn't intending to then, but now I am going to. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that until Malcolm had brought that up, because I'd forgotten. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. He used intend. And I'm always a stickler for language and words, especially the verbiage, the action words, because that shows you what you're doing in some ways, what your goals are. So, yeah, this could be that. Maybe also was Gaetz smart enough to place that in there as a get out of jail or get out of the bad nomination card, free card type of thing. Yeah.
I mean, ABC News is reporting this. Yeah.
That's interesting.
If Gaetz changes his mind and alerts the House clerk that he intends to serve in the 119th Congress, then he could be sworn in a special election to fill the expected vacancy. Has not been scheduled yet.
Here's the crazy part then. What happens with the ethics investigation?
Report.
Yeah, because
but it seems like it would be able to continue because it's not based. It's based upon the person, not necessarily the congressional.
Yeah, and the other
calendar.
part is, remember that when Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, came out, not to be confused with our Tiananmen Square mayor in Denver, I appreciate that. He came out and he said, well, Gaetz is now a private citizen and we're not going to release stuff based on a private citizen. And we don't want, he made also a really stupid thing about what would it be if the Congress committees could investigate private citizens? Like, and again, I knocked the journalists that are standing there right in front of him for not going. The investigation, sir, was when he was in Congress.
Yes.
We can talk about releasing it based on a private citizen, but the analogy of him saying the congressional committees to go investigate a private citizen, no. He was a member of Congress. So Johnston's excuse was dumb on its face. However, the excuse was private citizen. So does that not then apply when he comes back into Congress?
Wow. So great call that brought that up. I didn't even consider that. Yeah, he resigns from his current seat, but he was just elected into his new seat. Oh, and I love the fact that Matt Gaetz could be back being a thorn in the side of the radical progressive left and just driving them crazy. Wow. Interesting. Smart. We'll have to see where all that goes. All right, coming up in the next hour, Denver isn't tracking homeless spending and has gaps in safety policies with contractors. A new audit finds we knew because of the amount of 911 calls. I think it was like over 4,000 in just a small bit of time at these homeless hotels from hell that Mayor Mike Johnston was putting together. We're going to dive into this audit report. It's not good. Plus the mayor getting sued. It is just a rough week for Mayor Mike Johnston by his own employees. A new article in Westward about that as well. So Mayor Mikey driving the city of Denver into a ditch. 9 News has an article yesterday. Nobody on the 16th Street Mall wants to work down there anymore.
That's awful.
It's just getting worse and worse. He needs to go.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about this.
Businesses have been there for decades are talking about they're not being able to meet their bills. They've been there for decades. Not good. Not good.
So we're going to hold him accountable. Don't miss it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Now, Billy, this is my kind of music.
Yeah, you like this.
Doing work around the ranch. I'm very happy. This put a smile on my face this Friday morning. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. It's 8 a.m. Friday, November 22nd. You've tuned into 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You woke up in the greatest country in history, and Donald Trump's about to be your president again. 59 days. And things will start to turn around a little bit. I think they already are. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We'll get to news and comment in just a second. Let's go to Frank in Evergreen. Good morning, Frank. You have some thoughts on Matt Gaetz, huh?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, good morning. First of all, Jeff, awesome cowboy hat, man.
I get it out sometimes.
Do you have a pair of Lucchese boots to go along with that?
Casey boots?
Lucchese.
Oh no, I never heard of those.
Yeah, Lucchese boots, man. That's what Ronnie Reagan wore.
Lucchese, they.
No, Lucchese, Lucchese. They're made in Texas.
Fantastic. Now I'm new
And
to
they're
this
sold.
game. I'm literally a walking Alan Jackson
Really?
song that went country later in life.
Have you been to Rockmount or?
I have a few of their shirts.
Yeah, they sell them there. Anyway, check them out, man.
I will.
I told Billy that Gates is toxic at this point. The Republicans don't need him. They could do better. I'm not a Republican, just for the record. Republicans have such a deep bench at this point that if they could off him now, if there's a way, I'd just say go ahead and do it.
But do you think
good example.
Do you think Pam Bondi brings in all the allegiance to Trump, the fighting spirit, plus now AG experience? Do you think that she's the good right pick for that seat?
She and many others. She's awesome. I remember her mostly from the Bush Gore election, whatever that was, debacle, where Bush finally, where Gore finally gave in. She was part of that. She's awesome. I mean, there's many others. I would take her, no doubt about it. One reason I say, they should off Gates is because I wasn't really crazy about what he did to Kevin McCarthy with, a few others. But, in the end, I look at Mike Johnson and I like him so much better than Kevin McCarthy. So when these things start, you never know where they're going to end. And in this case, Mike Johnson, I think, is a huge improvement over Kevin McCarthy. And I think we could do the same with Gates.
Frank, great call. Really appreciate it. Thanks for diving in. What are you going to do next week? What are you going to do for Thanksgiving?
Well, my kids have all deserted me and my beloved spouse, so we're on our own. We got to find a smallish turkey, and we're going to cook that, and then we'll have a good time together.
Well, Frank, I sure appreciate the call and wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Most importantly, for participating, being part of it. Frank's line will be open 303-696-1971. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, TGIF, Jeff and Billy, 35 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 60 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Russia's confirmed they launched a new medium-range ballistic missile into Ukraine. Russian President Putin said his country had employed a non-nuclear hypersonic ballistic missile to strike a military factory. The Russian leader said the test of the weapon was in response to the U.S. authorizing Ukraine to fire American-made long-range missiles into Russia in their ongoing war just a few days ago. DJT is choosing a former Florida AG for U.S. Attorney General. His selection of Pam Bondi comes after former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz withdrew his name, of course, from consideration. Here she is in action 10 years ago.
And I'll tell you, it's bad enough in one thing to profit from poisoning others, but it's another when you bring drugs from Mexico into our country, California, Texas, Georgia, and end up in our state and do it with impunity. Because when you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegally, I want to tell you, and you wind up in Polk County, Grady Judd is going to find you. The DEA is going to help them. And my statewide prosecutors are going to lock you up for as long as we can.
The first opinion of the Supreme Court's term expected to be released this hour. The High Court heard 9 cases in October, including arguments over federal court jurisdiction, so-called ghost guns, and the Oklahoma death penalty. Almost 3 decades after his daughter was murdered, John Benet Ramsey's father is still hopeful her killer will be caught. John Ramsey, now 80, told the Today Show he hopes advances in DNA technology can help open new leads in the 1996 murder.
I believe it can be solved if the police accept help from outside their system. Today, finding the killer is not going to change my life. I've lost JonBenet. It's not going to bring JonBenet back. I would like to close this chapter.
A new Netflix docuseries will be released next week. The Denver Public Schools Board of Education unanimously voted to close or restructure 10 schools due to declining enrollment. The board voted to close 5 elementary schools. In a statement, DPS Board of Education President Dr. Carrie Olson, no relation, said the decision was made to ensure the district stays financially viable, not just now, but into the future as well. The trial of the Aurora dentist, James Craig, accused of killing his wife last year, is being delayed for a third time. The lawyer for Craig, Harvey Steinberg, withdrew from the case Thursday as jury selection was set to begin. He cited actions by his client that he believed were criminal or fraudulent as one of his reasons for quitting the case. Security will be on high once again at this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Federal authorities say there is no known credible threat against the parade, but the event could be an attractive target for both domestic and foreign terrorists. Authorities have a particular concern about people using vehicles to plow into large groups of spectators. College football kicking off tomorrow this week. Number 16, CU, the Buffs at Kansas at 1 o'clock. Kickoff for that one. CSU at Fresno State tomorrow night. Air Force at Nevada. 12th ranked Boise State at Wyoming, and UNC at Portland State tomorrow in the rain. Broncos at the Raiders on Sunday. 30 in Lafayette, 33 in Lakewood, 35 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Absolutely. Very punchable. There's some things that come out of my face that I'm absolutely punchable.
It is Friday, TGIF, Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
I need that on a t-shirt.
Very mild. Nice November weather for Denver. Upper 50s to the middle 60s today and tomorrow. Increasingly cloudy, 50s Sunday. Through midday Sunday, dry. Overnight Sunday into Monday morning could bring some snow showers. Cooler Monday. Snow chances return. Late Tuesday into Wednesday and colder by midweek. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Dante in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, Mikey Johnston's been having a month. He tried to get that sales tax to provide affordable housing. That failed. He goes and puts his foot in his mouth saying he's going to order the Denver police to confront immigration officials. So he wants the Denver police armed to stop Donald Trump and the mass deportations. That is going to have to be walked back because that's becoming a national story. We've already talked about that. 2 other stories. All right. Audit comes out yesterday looking into the city of Denver's homeless hotels, because what Mayor Mike Johnston, his whole theory is that if we just provide housing first, it's not just him, John Hickenlooper, others, most progressives, let's just get them a home, get them out of the streets. Then we can get them into the process of, helping them, all that stuff. Well, an audit came out on some of the practices, and it's not good. Listen to this. This is Channel 7 reporting. Denver doesn't know how much of your tax dollars it's spending on homelessness.
Wait, hold on. Did you say they don't know? Like, you come and you say,
it's like
we don't know? How? Oh, wait. Okay. I'm not the brightest bulb in the tree, but I'm trying to be mad about this. Who's writing the checks? Who has the account book? Because I've worked with accountants before. I've worked with CFOs before.
You're never going to guess on this one.
There's a ledger. And in the ledger, it writes down the deposits, and it writes out the withdrawals, and there's a system, and there's a spreadsheet normally, and we don't have any of that.
No.
What?
Not any of it. Well, so here's where the gaps are.
Oh, good God.
And anybody who's run an
This is a
organization,
nightmare.
I ran a think tank, I've run a business. I could count and tell you where every penny of the organizations I oversaw went. I knew all of it. It's not that hard, okay? But there's one way around it, Bill.
Yeah.
And they sure implemented it on this one, and that is non-specific invoicing.
Oh, geez.
So
you don't tag what it is that you're paying for. Ah, crap.
You just
Why would you do that?
You know why?
I know, but it's just the idea. If it's why would you? And this is the thing is, this is the part that really, really frustrates me at the core. Is these are the people that are in charge of the city, and these are the people that are in charge of spending our tax dollars. And the one thing that they weren't concerned about in this instance is how they were spending the money and where they were spending the money. And we know that because they didn't keep track of where it was going. How do you possibly post-mortem any sort of program if you don't know how much you spent and where you spent it? How do you possibly ever come to an agreement or an evaluation on the efficacy of said program? This is tantamount to deciding inside of the Denver Public Schools that, one, we are not ever going to issue grades on an assignment, nor are we going to tell you whether or not you graduate. You're going to have no evaluation. There's going to be no way to figure out, one, how well the school is working, and two, how good the students are doing on this process. Because we're not going to monitor, we're not going to evaluate, and oh, God forbid, we actually look at where the money's going. That who runs their family life that way?
Well, exactly. So
the hell?
Here, if you want to hide something in a invoice, what you do is you make it very general. So if Bill hires me to do his lawn work, okay, and I want to somehow skim off the top or pay somebody else or do something else, I'll send an invoice for $1,000, right? Now, I will just write an invoice that says, Jeff, lawn care work, to Bill, $1,000. You have no idea how much the gas cost. You have no idea how much the plastic bags to put the leaves in cost, my rake, my time, none of that stuff. I just send it to you. That was 38% of the invoices, Bill.
No.
Were general to the point where they lacked supporting documentation. And they also found invoices paid with duplicate reimbursements.
So because they weren't tracking, they paid twice. Okay, so this is okay. Now, I want our listeners to kind of focus in on this. We talk about the inefficiency and the asinine approaches to government. And again, they come to you all the time and saying, we're going to spend the money this way, etc. That we need to keep in mind that during this program, a program and a process, that Mayor Mike Johnston of Denver has come back to the Denver taxpayers and said that he needs more money to spend, yet he doesn't know how he is spending that money. And in fact, his administration is doing such a, and please excuse my language on this one, please excuse the language, but I think it's appropriate. And apologies to my father as well. They're doing such a piss poor job of managing the money, they don't know where it went. So they're asking you for more hard-earned money out of your paycheck, your blood, sweat, and tears, the effort you put in, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. They need more of your scratch, more of your cheddar, but they don't know how they're spending it. They can't come back to you and say, look what we did with your tax money. In fact, we may have paid some people twice because we are that inefficient at managing your tax dollars. We are this bad at our job. We mismanage your tax dollars. We pay people twice. If you had a financial advisor at your business, you had an accountant at your business, you had a financial advisor with your home budget that said, "Oh, sorry, I've been double billing and I've been paying these people," you would have serious questions about their ability to do their job. But again, we're talking about the Denver government. What are you expecting? What are you really expecting out of this?
So total amount of money spent, $150 million on addressing homeless. I'm going to pull up our little all-in mile-high dashboard. This allows us to see how many homeless people that the city of Denver has helped now transition into permanent housing. Okay.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm gonna just do this live. I'm gonna do this live on the radio. Okay. $150 million.
Yeah. And I'm hoping you're doing, because I was told there's gonna be no math. So that's not my thing, man. That's not my thing.
How many people do you think have now gotten into permanent housing?
Ooh, okay. Let's do it this way. Let's go in above or below. Okay. Is the number higher or lower? Now, I'm assuming, do we know how many were in the system to begin with? You remember what it's
2,169.
Okay. 2,169. Okay, let's play a higher or lower game. Let's do the prices right. Okay, I'm going to go 1,000 is my guess. Is it higher or lower? Okay. Now the crowd is chanting and yelling and giving me all sorts of numbers. Some are giving me the finger. Now, 500. Did they help 500? Higher or lower?
Higher.
Ooh, okay. That's good. Did they help 600? 600. Higher. Or lower? Ooh, okay. 800. 800.
Higher.
Oh, 900.
Lower.
Oh, okay. So 850.
Lower.
Oh, 820.
Lower.
801.
Higher.
804.
804 at this point. Okay.
Out of 2,000. That's
yep. Then I've gotten into permanent. But even if so, let's count the amount of money spent. So they could look at the invoices, the total invoices. $150 million. They don't know where part of it's going. That's part of the complaint. All right. Now I want to switch to just pure effectiveness of the dollar spent. Okay. So let's start with the total amount of people moved indoors. 2,169 people have been moved indoors as a result of this great initiative by Mike Johnston. And he spent $150 million to do it. Do you know how much that is per person?
Oh, no, I cannot do the math. What is it?
$69,156 has been spent per person.
Per person? Now, this is the great part. That is higher, $69,000, just as a
150 million divided by 2,169 is $69,156.
That is higher than the median income in the United States, which is right around 60,000. So understand, the median income in the U.S. is 60,000, and we are spending 9,000 plus more than that on each of these individuals, which, if you understand where I'm going, listener, it means we could have written a $60,000 check to each one of these people, given them the average salary of an American worker for the course of a year, and still save $9,000 plus a person. It would have been cheaper to give them the median income in America than to run them through the program. That seems stupid on its face.
Yes.
It seems remarkably stupid.
Guess what it's not about?
Yeah. What? What's it not about?
It's not about getting people off the street.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's about the industries around all them, the funding of the people, the jobs, all that stuff. And there's been lots of studies at this, Poverty Inc., how there's no incentive to actually solve this problem, and all the incentive in the world to keep it going because of the amount of money, $150 million in the city of Denver spent on this. There's all the incentive in the world to just keep this thing going because it's just an open spigot. That money's going to come in, and they don't even know where part of it's going. That's part of the critique of all this. So,
and after that, do they care? The idea of not knowing it still is job security, because as long as we keep doing the function, and that's a great point, because if they were good at their job, they would not have a job. So what is the incentive to be efficient, and to do your job in the manner in which you should. What is the incentive to reach your goal, knowing that your job is going away? On You Choose the News a couple of weeks ago, we brought up Salesforce. Salesforce was looking to hire 1,000 salespeople to sell an AI tool that would do what the salespeople did and other people in the company. They were trying to hire people going, yes, we need to hire you so that we can later fire you so you can sell the thing we're going to give people that will replace you. What? Who does that? And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here.
So here is Jeff Hunt's 3-point poverty plan. Okay. This is these are the only 3 options you need to actually solve the homeless problem. Okay. Here's Jeff Hunt's 3-point plan. And I'm going to make everybody angry on this. Libertarians aren't going to like this. The progressives aren't going to like it. Maybe the conservatives will like it.
And if everybody doesn't like it, you may be right.
There you go.
You may actually have a solution.
Number 1, we do not allow people to die in the streets. Okay. So I'm not going to go on the libertarian bend and say there's no role for government whatsoever. We're just going to walk away from the whole homeless problem. No, we're not going to allow that. You need to have programs like the Denver Rescue Mission and Catholic Charities that provide a pathway out for people that want it. So if you find yourself in such a dire financial situation that you don't have family and friends that are willing to help you anymore, you've lost your social capital, you've lost your economic capital, and you are living on the streets, you have to have programs that are primarily faith-based that will help get the skill sets necessary for you to build out of that. And you have to want it, and you have to build out of it. And those charities, Catholic Charities, Denver Rescue Mission, wonderful organizations, we have to have those, okay? Number 2, it is illegal to live outside in a tent. We are not going to allow that anymore, okay? You just can't do it in the city of Denver. You want to go do it somewhere else? Well, the other cities can deal with it as well, but this is the Highlands Ranch approach. No more handouts, no more sleeping, no more camping, none of that stuff. We're done with it because businesses downtown aren't thriving anymore because of it, because of the crime, because of all the problems. We're done with it. You've got to leave the city of Denver. If you're not willing to go to Catholic Charities or the Denver Rescue Mission and go get help, you've got to leave. The third alternative, and I think this is a compassionate alternative. If you are not willing to get help, you want to live drug addicted, and the city of Denver is not going to allow you, we are going to intervene so much in your life that we're going to put you in prison.
Ooh.
If you are drug addicted, living on the streets, likely having to steal or engage in other forms of crime in order to feed your habit, I believe it is compassionate to put you in jail and force you into sobriety programs to try to save your life. Those are one of the only 3 options you have anymore. You can get help, you can leave, or we're going to put you in jail.
Oh, that last one's a tough one for me. That's a tough one because it's the idea of we don't know if they have committed necessarily a crime. And is it a crime?
If you're drug addicted on the street, you don't think that's a crime?
No, I don't think that's necessarily a crime. And that's
possessing drugs?
Well, some drugs are legal here, but even then, the possession, and you want to put them away for a little bit of possession, okay, but normally those are going to be misdemeanors based on the amount because these guys are not going to be the high rollers. They're going to be buying, the tiny amounts. They're going to be looking at just trying to get that fix for that day.
Yep.
And you don't try to buy more than that because you can be robbed.
And
so
you don't think it's compassionate? I know it's hard. I know it's very hard, and it's tough. We are going to put you behind bars. We're going to strip search you. You are going to have no access to those drugs anymore, and you're going to begin to get clean. We are not going to let you just wander the streets anymore using and possessing drugs in the city of Denver.
Yeah. And my heart understands where you're going with that one. The difficulty that I have, and this is, that classic liberalism in me of the idea of free will and choices and that the constraint of, and that's why I have a problem.
You can leave at that point.
Yeah. And that would be the idea, is enforce him to leave. if you would also throw in, transportation out of the area, maybe I'd be more, right? So it's one or the other. Either you're going to go to jail or you're going to go this direction. The other part that I understand the compassion side of it, and there's part of me that thinks it would be an either or a three-pronged. It would be you can leave, you're going to go to jail, or you're going to get into this treatment program right now, because we know that Step Denver offers that get out of jail free card.
Right.
And I think there, if you've committed a crime and you're in the process of addiction, I think that's an alternative to get you out of jail and get you into those programs.
Yep.
I'm less convinced that the assumption of the fact that you are homeless and doing drugs then becomes a crime. That is hard for me mentally to get to that position, that would necessarily be the crime, because what I get to at that point is, if the crime is the doing and possessing drugs,
yes,
then what's the difference between someone that has a home or doesn't have a home, someone that is renting an apartment and is on the streets? Is it just the act of being on the streets that then that drug use then becomes criminal? But if I am in a luxury apartment downtown or a condo, or I'm sitting in a giant C-suite that's got 1,500 square feet in a huge office in the DTC, but I've got piles of blow on my desk,
still crime.
I'm still
crime.
Yeah, I'm still doing
Absolutely.
it. But we're not going after that group necessarily. We're just going to target the people that are doing it.
Go after them. But look, I get your point.
Hard.
But
that's hard for me. But
there is a crisis. It is an emergency crisis right now, where nobody will go downtown. And what the mayor needs to step up and do is say, downtown is not made for homeless, drug addicted people. Why we are prioritizing them, why we are coddling them, why we are spending $150 million to buy up hotels and to put them in it, all that stuff. No, you are in a desperate race to save the financial stability of Denver right now. Clean it up. You have to make it so clean. And I'm calling this my woman in a fur coat with pearls and diamond rings theory. It has to be so clean and so wonderful and such a nice experience that those people feel totally safe walking around the 16th Street Mall with a fur coat, diamond rings, and pearls on, knowing that nothing is going to happen to them. When you do that, you create such a safe place that people want to come and spend their disposable money. Now you have tax revenue that the city of Denver, if you want to go do little progressive special ideas, okay, all that. You cannot do that without people with disposable income coming downtown. And right now they don't want to come downtown. You got articles in Channel 9 just yesterday that businesses that have been there for decades are done. They're tired of it. And this progressive mindset, creating all these programs and coddling and creating places where people can just live drug addicted in tents. It's got to end. And you have one of three options. Get help. Here's the process by which you do it. Wonderful organizations are going to help you. Leave, because we're not going to put up with it anymore. Downtown is not for you. Go to jail and we'll help you get clean by force. That's it. Those are the three options, according to me.
Yeah,
and I got the phone lines filled.
You do, and we're going to talk that side. We got one caller that actually listened to some of the audit hearings, and we're going to dive into that, and then other people that have some questions about your plan. And when you're talking about, drug addicted people living in tents, I'm wondering, man, what are the people that Burning Man and Coachella going to do? But, oh, well, that's a festival type of thing. And Jeff is talking about changes in people's lives, and he's talking about, challenges that these people are facing in drug addiction, etc. And I understand that there are some other challenges in your life, and some of those have to do with personal pain. Some of those have to do with just you getting up and moving around each and every day, because I've dealt with them for years. I thought that just getting old, it just meant that things started to hurt, that then you just sat around with your friends and complained about what surgeries you need, and then the things that the aches and pains, because that's what I heard from the older people in my life when I was a kid. But now I found out that it doesn't have to be that way, thanks to my friends at Balance Wellspace. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. They have an open house coming up on December 3rd, 5 o'clock in the evening. Wine, cheese, the staff is going to be there, and they're going to be focusing on hormone replacement. We'll talk about that here in just a sec, but I want to talk to you about what Balance Wellspace offers and why it's worth your time to go down there December 3rd, 5 o'clock in Lowry. They're right across the street from Hangar 2, plenty of parking, and again, complimentary wine and cheese. You can browse around the facility, talk to the people that work there, and get a feel for the place and see why I like them so much. Now, they're integrative medicine. That's different than most places because they have a whole bunch of different type of treatments all under one roof. It means in one single visit, you can get trigger point injections, you can get regenerative care, you can get neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, chiropractic care, and a whole bunch of real cutting-edge Star Trek level stuff that is all non-invasive. The best thing is they're all working together. They've created a custom pain plan with your help and evaluation of you and where you are, talking to you about your goals, and then they're going to get you to where you need to be. The reason it's different than what you're doing right now is because they talk about you and reevaluate you every couple of weeks. Your current medical team, the people you are visiting in all those different doctors' offices, they're never on a conference call. They never get together and say, how are you doing? They never look at what they're doing in all those offices and make sure it's all rowing together in the same boat to get you where you want to be. They're cashing the checks. And as long as you make the next appointment, they're happy to see you again. That's not the goal at Balance Wellspace. The goal is to get you better and get you back doing the stuff that you haven't been doing before. And part of that is your hormones, okay? You know, when you were a kid, you hated taking naps if you're like me. But now all you want is a nap. I got a nap for about an hour on Wednesday, and it was one of the best things in the entire world. So you know those joys of those times in which you do have that time for yourself. But part of the reason you need that nap and you're running down in the middle of the afternoon is your hormones have changed. It's okay. That happens over the course of your life. Just like Jeff reads about advanced hair replacement, people losing their hair. Same thing. That just happens as you get older. So it's nothing wrong with you, but there is a way to feel better. And my friends at Balance Wellspace are going to be hosting that open house and talking about bioidentical hormone replacement, meaning they're going to put the exact same hormones that are in your body back into your own very body. It is an amazing procedure. I've experienced it a couple of times. It has made me feel wonderful. Also, it's not something you're doing every week, but check them out, balancewellspace.com. Talk to them. Visit the open house December 3rd, 5 p.m. Complimentary wine and cheese. Find out about the hormone replacement and other treatment options that are there for you to see if it could be the right answer for your pain. Check it out. Space is limited. Balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. And remember, please let them know that you heard about it here on the Jeff and Bill Show because it helps us out when you do. And I thank you very much. And they're going to help you get rid of that pain.
Bill, great to hear you're getting that care. All right, Gary, you're going to be up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader. We are News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. FBI Director Christopher Wray and DHS Alejandro Mayorkas have refused
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve Coffee Maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. FBI Director Christopher Wray and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas have refused to testify publicly during the Senate hearing on Homeland Security. Instead, the pair said they would testify behind closed doors, a move that's being heavily criticized by the GOP, who says they have major concerns about oversight and accountability when it comes to national security issues. The Senate Homeland Security Committee Chairman Gary Peters said Mayorkas and Wray's refusal to appear is a shocking departure from the 15-year tradition of holding the annual hearing on worldwide threats. However, both the FBI and the DHS said they have information that can only be provided in a classified setting. But Peters rejected their excuse, saying not having a public hearing robs the American people of critical information. This is the second hearing that they refused to publicly testify at. Sales of existing U.S. homes rose in October, marking the first annual gain in more than 3 years. Experts say people are encouraged by lower rates and more properties on the market. Sales were up 3.4% last month from September for an annual rate of 3.96 million, according to the National Association of Realtors. That number matches the annual pace set in July. Sales rose 2.9% compared with October last year. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to Gary, Denver. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, guys, and happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, same to you.
Yeah, I watched the audit committee meeting, which was broadcast live yesterday, and they basically ripped them a new one. The people from, it's called HOST, which is Denver's Department of Housing Stability, HOST. And they had the executive director, Dr. Jamie Rife, and her background is she has degrees in Spanish and sociology. and they're, no financial background. And basically the way they couldn't report how much they spent from 2022 through the first quarter of 24. So the auditor had to go in and data mine the general ledger to give an approximate of 150 million. And they weren't reviewing invoices or supporting documentation. And you had mentioned 15 invoices, but they only selected a total sample of 40 invoices, 40. And you got to imagine there's probably thousands of them. Oh. So they didn't even take a reasonable sample. But anyway, here's the point I wanted to make. This Dr. Jamie Rife, this executive director, she was the one who came up with how much they should propose on the ballot that went down for $100 million a year for 40 years. she came up with the amount that they thought they would need, and she was going to manage that program. So could you imagine if we had approved that? She would have been in charge of $100 million a year for 40 years.
Wow. That's crazy to think about.
Gary, first of all, God bless you for sitting there and watching all that. Thank you so much. That is not something I did. I'm relying on news reports. You sat there and listened to it and provide some important details about just how ill-equipped these folks are to spend this amount of money.
Yeah, and
50 million and 38% they can't account for the invoices on 38% of them.
Yeah, my background is in public accounting with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I worked with Tim O'Brien, Denver's audit director, who was running the meeting.
I love our listeners, dude.
Yeah, and it basically all they taught, along with her, they had sort of an accounts payable manager, and all they're doing is they have a staff of accounts payable people who are just paying invoices, whether they're valid or not. I mean, it's just ripe for fraud.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and I was explaining to Bill how you do it, right? So if Bill hires me, by the way, we're talking about the review of Mayor Mike Johnston's homeless spending. They did an audit and found that they don't know how much tax dollars they're spending on this program, and they don't have clear safety policies. But the example being, Bill hires me to do lawn work, okay? And then I just send him an invoice that says, Jeff Hunt's lawn work, $1,000. Now, Bill doesn't know how much I spent on gas, on plastic bags, on rakes, none of that stuff. Now, if he's a government official, to protect the interests of the taxpayers' dollars, has every right to demand what's called an itemized invoice, which is, I want a list of everything. I want to see how much everything costs.
But
they're not doing that.
And remember that phrase, itemized invoice, when you are arguing with your insurance provider. Ask for that. If you question what your medical bills are or what you're getting out of the hospital or from the doctor's office, ask for that itemized invoice. That is absolutely appropriate. Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
And at a minimum, I think they have 6 or 8 hotels. Some they own, some they lease. But at a minimum, if you're not doing that detailed review of invoices, you should have, but they only have an accounts payable department. You should have a controller, I'd say. Maybe they should, and that would maybe look at month-to-month fluctuations. So, if we paid this particular hotel $10,000 last month, and this month we got invoices totaling $50,000, you'd say, well, wait a minute, 10,000 to 50, what happened? But they do no financial analysis. They're just processing invoices. I mean, they should have, at the meeting, they should have done a Donald Trump and say, Dr. Reif, you're fired.
Yes, they should have. And Gary, and you're absolutely exactly right about the potential for fraud, because I do spend my time on some of the weird side of the web, and I run across stories all the time about companies being scammed through fake invoices that they are just sent, and the accounts
I was
payable
just
go ahead and
thinking
do
that.
it.
Like somebody, I don't want to encourage anybody, but it sounds like you could just send an invoice to the city of Denver right now. They might send you a check.
Yeah, you could just, all you could do is you can go on there and just, Photoshop some stuff, mock up a fake invoice, and how would they know? Because they're not counting the beans. And then again, based on what Gary's outlining there, how would they know that you defrauded them? Because they're not tracking it. They may not even put your fake company's name on the check or on the ledger, on the balance sheet. So they would have no idea to be able to backwards track where the money went. They would have no clue that you sent them a fraudulent invoice and that you got your Christmas presents paid for. They would have no idea.
And it was priceless. And this will be my last comment.
Yeah.
This Dr. Reif and her 2 bozos that were with her, they're just ripping her a new one, and she's just sort of there with a smile saying, oh, sorry.
Oh, geez. And we wonder why we can't have nice things.
Only, I agree with much of what Jeff said. And the only way we're going to do it, change this administration, it might take a while, but we need to keep revealing the way they're dealing with these things right now.
Gary,
that's all we can do.
You are a gift. Thank you so much for taking time to watch
Yeah.
that, to call us. And,
Oh,
and
man.
I'll say it again. We have the best listeners in Colorado.
We do. Happy
By
Thanksgiving,
far,
then,
Gary.
too.
Appreciate you so
Dude.
much. His line will be open 303-696-1971. Another great guy I love who just run for office, Dan. You'll clean it up. I know you will. Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He shares our values, okay? He's the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian. He's just a really good guy. That matters because, you don't want to hire somebody you just saw it go by on a bus billboard. Hire somebody you can trust. That's Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. All right, but can he win in the courtroom if you're hurt in an injury case? Absolutely. Listen to this. He's believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Then listen to this. It gets even bigger. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Look, if you're hurt, you got to give Dan Caplis a call. He's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. You might say to yourself, I can't afford this guy. It's not true, because Dan, motivated by his faith, is willing to accept righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis. That means he wants to help good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Okay. Chances are you're not on the side of the road in a car accident right now. So you got to put his phone number in your phone now. So if that does happen to you and you're having to call the police and your insurance company and family and all that stuff, it's real easy. You're not scrambling around searching for it. Okay. Here's Dan Caplis Law phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. We'll get to the calls next. Julie, Nick, you're up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Mike Johnston, an audit coming out on his homeless plan. Things aren't looking good. They don't know where the money's going. $150 million, but 38% of it, which is very general invoices. It's been a rough week for Mikey. Let's go to the phone lines. Julie Littleton. Good morning, Julie. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
What's on your mind?
So I'm calling in because I do 100% actually agree with Jeff with a caveat. So I find that a lot of people tend to get in a room, come up with ideas, and then put it on someone else to implement those ideas.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, sending everyone to jail is not always the answer, because then you're putting it on the sheriffs, the deputies. There's goes all that money. And here's where I speak from experience, and I'm not a deputy, but my husband is.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he has to already deal with, and wouldn't say have to, he chose this profession. He's made to be a deputy. This is what he's always wanted to do. And listening to him come home with the people that do go to jail because they're homeless, because they're on drugs, because of all these things, they get them cleaned up, but they don't, it's on the deputies to try and figure out how to have that compassion, and then they leave. Like, there's no plan. You can say that all day long of send them to jail. Then you're making the deputies look bad. Like, okay, let's put them through all this stuff and force them to leave or force them to get in a program. There's so many people coming up with ideas, but not getting a team together or implementing or getting together with the team. They're saying, you need to help us. And then that's more money.
Yeah, I guess what I want to address here, and I really appreciate your perspective, Julie, because you come from it with having a family member that has to serve in this, okay? There's this general thinking going around right now in the city of Denver under its leadership that we just have to accommodate the they're just there. We got to deal with them. And as a result of that thinking, nobody wants to go downtown right now. The tax sales revenue that is critical for the city to meet its needs is no longer there. Businesses are drying up. They don't want to. So the first step one, the city absolutely has to prioritize those with disposable income. They should be the most important people. We should be protecting their ability to go downtown, to spend money, to go to restaurants, to visit businesses, should be top number one. Secondly, the issue I want to address is that somehow putting somebody and intervening in their lives simply because they're drug addicted is somehow wrong or not right or not compassionate. It's not true. We have to step in here. It is not right to allow people to live drug addicted on the streets. And I think incarceration is a form of compassion. Prove me wrong. Julie, appreciate the call. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
we just bounce around on all the music. Now we're into the 70s. All right.
Yes.
Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It's 9 a.m. on this Friday, November 22nd. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You woke up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. It's Friday. Next week's Thanksgiving. You've made it. We're going to get there, and you're going to have a lot of fun next week, too. But we've got a lot to cover in this hour of the show. You're not going to want to miss it. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
That is Prince's greatest song right there. Controversy.
Yep.
Don't you dare call
Had
it disco.
no idea that was even Prince, bro.
I know you
Yeah.
did not. That is one of the best.
Yeah, it is.
If I could cue it up right now and play it with Billy for about 3 minutes, I would.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's fun to
But we can't
watch
'cause then
this
YouTube doesn't
music
like us.
tap into middle school Billy and Blake, and you guys get all excited about
So
it.
good.
Man, unfortunately, that was when I was in high school or college, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I was in
But
college.
again, like, you know that you had those arguments with your friends about who was better, Michael Jackson or Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know who
Absolutely.
won. Yes.
Michael Jackson.
No.
No way you
Yes.
guys believe Prince is better than Michael Jackson.
You know, that one
yeah.
is a toughie, Billy, though, because I go with early Michael Jackson off the
Yeah.
wall. And then, see, I'm not, unlike you, I'm not a big Thriller fan.
Oh, Thriller's fantastic.
I don't like Thriller. I
Michael's-
like off the wall.
Michael's
But-
fantastic, but the idea is that Prince was a decent human in some aspects, and so
Yes,
that's the part for
yeah.
me that
I agree.
Prince wins. That's
I
the
agree.
issues, because there are.
No,
you know,
I'm right there with
yeah,
you.
I
I'm
don't-
right there
yeah,
with you.
I don't-
Prince was a decent human being.
Much
based
better
on the-
than Mike.
Based on the allegations, based on the allegations that are there out there for Michael Jackson,
Yes.
based on the allegations that
Yeah.
Prince for me, that has
Yeah,
to be
I'm
the
kind
one.
of right there.
Yeah.
And he has one of the greatest quotes of all time. I think he said he lives in Minneapolis because it's too cold for the bad people, for the crooks and the
Yeah.
criminals.
Yeah.
You know, it keeps the bad
That
people
is
away.
funny.
Yeah,
Even
it's-
though we
again,
haven't seen that in Minneapolis.
Yeah, lots of
recently.
respect for MJ and what he did and stuff, but there was some stuff later on in his life, and it just I have questions about those allegations, and I don't have.
So weird.
Yeah, I haven't made up my mind either way if they're true or not. But the issue being that I don't have to make that choice with Prince, so Prince wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the reason. That's
You
it.
cleaned it up
Yeah.
once again for me.
Thank you,
in a
man.
nutshell.
All right, all your
Go-
turn. It's all yours.
Go listen to Controversy this
Yes.
weekend,
Oh, yeah.
Jeff. Okay. That's your homework assessment.
Controversy. Dude, the
Controversy.
amount of text messages we're getting right now because I called Prince disco.
Our listen,
I know.
we have the greatest listeners. I'm telling you, man. You can go
Yes.
from the deepest, most intellectual things hey, don't you dare call Prince
know.
disco. I love it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to fight about that right then, so just let me let it go. I'll just ignore that.
Controversy.
Yes, controversy. So good.
40. Yep, so good. 40 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 60 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the first opinion of the Supreme Court's term, will be released this morning. The High Court heard 9 cases in October, including arguments over federal court jurisdiction, so-called ghost guns, and the Oklahoma death penalty. And a few minutes ago, the Supremes tossed Facebook's appeal in a securities lawsuit against the social media giant, indicating the court shouldn't have taken up the case. Facebook will have to face a class action lawsuit. Former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi is President-elect Trump's new pick for Attorney General. This comes after Matt Gaetz withdrew his nomination for the position in Trump's cabinet. She helped expose the weaponization of the justice system early last summer.
This is just one big press conference trying to smear Donald Trump, trying to hurt Donald Trump. The gag order is completely illegal. The rights, again, go to the defendant. They're letting Michael Cohen out there do these ridiculous TikTok videos, screaming and yelling, yet Donald Trump can't defend himself.
Yes,
so this
that's
entire case has just been one big press conference trying to smear Donald Trump, but it's failed miserably.
Lefty poli-scientist Jason Johnson.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear because she's competent.
We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that.
President Biden is calling the ICC arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu outrageous. The International Criminal Court issued warrants on Thursday for him and his former defense secretary, accusing them of war crimes in the Gaza Strip. Alabama inmate Corey Dale Grayson is dead, the third inmate to be executed with nitrogen gas in the U.S. Grayson was executed Thursday for the brutal 1994 murder of Vicki Lynn DeBlue, who was hitchhiking on her way to see her mother in Louisiana. Almost 3 decades after his daughter was murdered, John Benet Ramsey's father is still hopeful her killer will be caught. John Ramsey, now 80, on the Today Show.
I believe it can be solved if the police accept help from outside their system. Today, finding the killer is not going to change my life. I've lost John Benet. It's not going to bring John Benet back. I would like to close this chapter.
A new Netflix docuseries will be released next week. The trial of the Aurora dentist, James Craig, accused of killing his wife last year, is being delayed for a third time. The lawyer for Craig, Harvey Steinberg, withdrew from the case Thursday as jury selection was set to begin. He cited actions by his client that he believed were criminal or fraudulent as one of his reasons for quitting the case. Mike Boyle, the man, the great, on the show this morning. And don't forget to listen to the restaurant show this weekend here on KNUS with Mike. He'll help you get ready for Thanksgiving coming up next week.
And all I would say from the heart is I hope that all of the listeners to KNUS just have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And if there's anything I can do to help you get out and about to find a place, just go to my website. My cell phone is there. I take myself. I'm one of these people that answers the phone. And send me a text, call me, send me an email, and I'll do whatever I can to help you enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Yes, he will. All right, the NBA Cup tonight actually is back in action with the Nuggets playing host to the Mavericks at 8 o'clock tonight, first tip. Let's see, college football weekend, number 16, the CU Buffs at Kansas tomorrow, 1:30. Kickoff. CSU at Fresno State tomorrow night. Air Force at Nevada. 12th ranked Boise State in Laramie to take on the Cowboys. And UNC at Portland State in the rain. On Sunday, the Broncos at the Raiders on Sunday afternoon. 38 in Highlands Ranch, 39 in Timnath, 40 in Denver. Jeffy and Billy continue.
But if I don't have that cranberries that go as they fall out of the can, it's not Thanksgiving. I cannot stand yams. That yams with the stupid marshmallow stuff on top is
I'm with you,
ridiculously
Bill.
stupid.
Yeah,
I hate it. And for some reason, I have done a very, very poor job parenting because most of my kids like it.
Oh man, I'm one of your kids then. I
hot takes on the Jeff and Bill show.
I didn't say that, but yeah, hot takes, man. Marshmallows on sweet potatoes, jams.
They're great.
Love it.
Stupid. I'm
Man,
sorry. If you
bake
have
it
to put,
3 times.
If you have to put marshmallows on top of anything to make it edible, it's not food.
No,
Good
it's
point.
just.
Good
Are you
point.
kidding me? You put marshmallows on ice cream, Billy? We can't even agree on this.
If I put marshmallows on ice cream, it's cold. The marshmallows get hard.
You eat them. They're a topping. They're great. Now here's the one thing. Here's the one thing you can't have at Thanksgiving.
What?
And anything related, anything seafood related should not be at a Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh man, I agree with you on that. I agree. My wife hates when
Oysters,
I say
salmon. No, none of that
no.
stuff.
Hey, let me. And then in
I got
Alabama,
something.
where I went to college at Troy. Oh my goodness, chitlins. Have you ever smelled
Oh
those?
yeah.
Oh.
No. Okay. Now here's the thing. So we're talking
That's
Thanksgiving
the
stuff.
worst.
There is
That'll ruin
something. It
Thanksgiving.
is. The chitlins will ruin it. That smell is. Here's the thing. Since Jeff brought up the whole idea of seafood, I didn't talk about this earlier because there are some weird things that happen in my family. And my father's passed away. He's no longer with us, so we don't make this anymore. But every year since I was a kid, on Thanksgiving, there were always 2 bowls of stuffing. There was one large bowl that was full of stuffing. And then there was the smaller bowl that was for my father.
What did that have?
Because in his stuffing, and he loved it, in his stuffing, it would have both the regular stuffing, diced onions, and oysters.
Oh.
Yes, it
Really?
tastes. Yes, it tastes just as awful as it sounds. It is atrocious,
Dude. I would love to hear from our listeners
hideous.
because you know that we all have family members that have to have their meals just very unique, and they get the tiny little bowl because they will have to have their oysters in their stuffing.
Oh yeah, it is awful.
What?
Wow, he had rare taste, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And I just had a friend of mine yesterday was on the other job that I do. We're on a call and we're talking Thanksgiving stuff, and she's talking about the green Jello with the fruit in it and the cottage cheese on it.
What is that all about?
I don't know. And the problem is she talked about it, and even right then, it gave me the shivers like right down my spine because Grandma used to make that, and I had to eat it because Grandma made it, and you're like,
We're all going back
Awful.
to
So bad.
Chevy Chase and
Yes.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation
Yes,
and
we
just
are.
random meals that, that your family members bring over.
You're absolutely right.
Can't
Absolutely
wait.
right.
It's the greatest week, though. I love it. I love it. I love Thanksgiving more than anything. No doubt. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Blake Olson. I was going to play something for Billy. No.
Darn.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Very mild, nice November weather for Denver. Upper 50s to the middle 60s today and tomorrow. Increasingly cloudy, 50s Sunday. Through midday Sunday dry. Overnight Sunday into Monday morning could bring some snow showers. Cooler Monday. Snow chances return. Late Tuesday into Wednesday and colder by midweek. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Dante in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Coming up in just a moment, we're going to talk with our poet laureate, Jeff Hildebrand. It's cowboy poetry as we saunter off into the end of the work week. We're also going to talk rodeo because NFR is coming up starting December 5th. My absolute favorite. It's the Super Bowl of rodeo. All the good ones. They all stay on the Bulls 8 seconds. It's amazing. It's just the very best. All in Las Vegas.
That is cool.
For NFR National Finals Rodeo. Let's go to Nick Denver. Good morning, Nick. What's on your mind?
Hey, morning.
Thanks for taking my call. Concerning the homeless situation in Denver, one of the hardest things in life, and I can talk personally about that, is to accept personal responsibility. And sometimes things happen in your life that you have no control, but eventually you have to assume personal responsibility. And that is why most of these social welfare programs fail. There's no responsibility put on the person who's going through whatever they're going through.
I mean, Nick, that is exactly what Step Denver says too. Until it is your choice to want to get out of this lifestyle. And I understand it. I'm not talking about the financial challenges that people might go through. We're all one bad car accident away, one bad surgery from being at the very edge of falling into poverty. And that's just how hard life is. I'm not talking about those folks. I'm talking about constant drug addiction, living on the streets, and just going from one program to the next without ever really taking responsibility to try to get out of it. And I think that's what you're talking about too, Nick.
Exactly. And I know it's hard. It's hard. The hardest thing in the world is to accept personal responsibility. I've made some horrible business decisions in my life that have cost me millions. And I got screwed, but I allowed myself to get screwed because I didn't do my due diligence and I didn't accept personal responsibility for what was going on. So at the end of the day, I was responsible for getting myself in that kind of situation. And that is what's wrong with most welfare programs and why communism cannot work. Because in a communistic system, take a look at Russia, biggest country in the world. They have more natural resources than any country in the world, and they're an economic basket case. And little Switzerland, that has no natural resources, somehow they thrive. Why is that? Because they've accepted personal responsibility for their situation and they've done something with it.
Gosh, Nick, you're exactly right. Appreciate the call. By the way, Nick, what are you doing next week for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to have oysters put in my stuffing.
Your call's breaking up. Shh, I don't know what's going on. You must be going through a tunnel or something there, Nick.
I'm just to piss everybody off. No.
That is the best. Hey, Nick, and remember this. I understand your idea about personal responsibility, and you like this one. Friend of the show and Denver radio legend, Peter Boyles, tells the story of his brother getting picked up for getting some sort of a fight, a scrap. So brother's in jail. Calls dad and says, hi, Pops. I'm sorry, man. Can you come down here and can you bail me out? I'm here in jail. They're going to hold me overnight. And dad says, what'd you do to get in there? He goes, I got in a fight. Dad looks at the phone and says, you fought your way in, fought your way out. I'll see you tomorrow. And hangs up. Yeah. Have a great one, Nick, man.
That was a great call. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Nick. Text message here, 8422. We always had oyster stuffing growing up. I loved it. My wife and I tried to carry on the traditions for a few years, but our kids hated it so much we don't have it anymore. Great memories, though, Bill.
I love your kids. I love your kids a lot. I have questions about you. I'm kidding.
Speaking of kids out there, do you know a high school student passionate about engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics with an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinctive program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. Up next, Jeff Hildebrandt, KNUS Poet Laureate, going to share a little cowboy poetry with us as we saunter off into the weekend before Thanksgiving. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. Better not brought any oysters.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The Biden-Harris administration.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details. Rocky Mountain Bargains.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The Biden-Harris administration making a controversial move with the launch of an ICE portal app in New York City. The app essentially allows migrants to skip in-person meetings with ICE officials by using the digital platform. Many are now saying the new policy poses major security threats and may even violate the law. Officials say the app that will launch in early December is glitchy and unreliable, so it will be easy for migrants to disappear into the country. And that's not all. The Biden-Harris administration is rushing to push through other changes like giving migrants the right to challenge electronic monitoring and demanding to be terminated from the program along with a dozen other policy changes. Border officials say Biden is actively obstructing the transition of power, and his moves could tie Trump's deportation plan up in the court system for years. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Moscow has tested a new hypersonic missile in a strike on Ukraine, and that it could use the weapon against countries that have allowed Kyiv to use their missiles to strike Russia. Putin saying that the Russian strike on the central Ukrainian city of Dnipro came in response to Ukrainian strikes on Russian territory this week. Putin declared that Russia will issue advance warnings if it launches more strikes with such missiles against Ukraine to allow civilians to evacuate to safety. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Wild, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show on this very special Friday edition before Thanksgiving week. People are starting to travel, get out there. The kids are wrapping up school, and we're having a ton of fun here. One of the things that may not be fun, and you may be dealing with this problem, we've got the solution for you, is a roofing issue, right? Look, in Colorado, we've got it all. Hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, we've got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. These aren't the type of guys that just follow storms around. going, hey, let us work. Get your roof fixed. No, this is not about quantity. It's about quality. Okay. They're local, family owned, and they've served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate, know how to build a roof that lasts. So whether you need a repair just after a storm or a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. No pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today at 303-797-7663 or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. That's 303-797-7663 or roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's Best Roofing. All right, Mr. Rodeo Man.
Yo,
I love I say that, and you just jump right. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Jeff Hildebrandt, our 710 KNUS Cowboy Poet Laureate, is in studio to saunter us into the weekend. Now, Jeffrey, are you
I saunter.
Saunter.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, write that down. I'm going to need that.
Yeah, it's a little faster than a mosey.
That was good, Bill. That's
Thank
really
you.
good.
And we got to ask Jeff after he finishes the first poem about the very special shirt that he's wearing. There's a reference that we made earlier about
hell of a bolo tie.
Oh, dude, he's got a hell, and you should see the belt buckle he's got too. It's very cowboy. But he is wearing
Not many people get to see my belt.
No, and. Yeah, and we're going to leave that right there because there's so many things that, because of the way that I'm built, that is going to go so bad so quickly. He has a very unique Rockmont shirt on, and he'll tell us the story here in just a bit. You've got to hear the story. Yeah, this is cool.
So every Friday, we like to finish the week with some cowboy poetry. What you got for us, Jeffrey?
Well, you might remember Garth Brooks' hit from several years ago. It was called Rodeo. And since you're talking about rodeo a little bit, I am married to a woman who's been called a shopaholic, and it led me to write this parody. Her eyes are cold and restless. Their bank account is healed, and he'd pay twice his taxes just to change the way she feels. Her love's in California, and he knows she's going to go. It ain't no hunk she's longing for. It's a street called Rodeo. Well, it's Cartier where you just pay with plastic in this town, and you've worked real hard for the gold in the card she'll spend the next go-round. Well, there's hats and suits and Gucci boots, and he can't let her go. It's Polo and Klein and places to dine, and they call the street Rodeo. It'll drive accountants crazy. It'll give a man the chills, and he has to get a second job just to pay the monthly bills. When he finally does convince her that she's bought all she can get, they find a way to tempt her on that danged old internet. Because there's Cartier, where you can pay with plastic this time round. You've worked real hard for the gold in the card she spends while sitting down. And there's hats and suits and Gucci boots. Now she don't have to go. Just sit in the house with the click of the mouse. She can shop along Rodeo.
That is great. And if you know the song, how you track the theme of that song as well is perfect. I love that. Is
good.
Great.
That's fantastic.
That's kind of catty.
How did your wife feel about that?
Perfect is kind of catty.
Yeah, right.
We'll move on. Let's not bring her any more into the conversation.
No, but speaking of the conversation, now there's a rodeo tie-in to the shirt.
Yeah,
Jeff Hildebrandt, and it is a Rockmont shirt.
Are you wearing a Rockmont?
I'm wearing a Rockmont.
Yes,
shirt.
I don't see the designs that normally come with a Rockmont shirt.
Well, it's old.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, you got to tell us how old. Oh, he's undressing.
Because I have Rockmonts, and they're like pieces of art.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, this is.
Is there some design?
Kind of.
Yeah, you get the pearl snaps
and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and the cuffs you can see on the cuffs you got because it's more than just the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the triple cuff. So yeah, how did you come by this shirt? How are you buying it? Yeah.
I was doing some stuff out in L.A. with Jim Garner, actor Jim Garner, and we were talking about Western movies to promote the 100th anniversary of the Western movie. And so he was coming out, and he said, everything I've got to wear is kind of old. Of course, I'll get you a shirt, Jim. Okay. So I bought him this shirt from Rockmount and took it out. And he wore this on the pieces that we did, the interviews that we did, and segments introducing various movies that we ran. And when the shoot was over, he took it off and gave it back to me. So
fantastic.
So that's James Garner's shirt.
James Garner. I will admit it has been washed.
Yes.
Maybe when you said Jim Garner, I didn't get it.
Oh,
James
James
Garner.
Garner.
Yeah.
It's James Garner's shirt.
And you haven't washed it?
Oh, no, we washed it.
Oh,
we washed it.
Well, that makes it awkward that I rubbed up against it earlier. That's really weird. Yeah, that is such a cool story that after James Garner did it, he's like, here, give the shirt back.
Yeah.
Of course, you hang on to that
So
shirt.
I don't want to go down on a big tangent now, but the series Yellowstone is now going without Kevin Costner. And it is very flat compared to what it used to be. 100%. My wife and I were watching it just going, there's no depth, there's no character development that, Kevin Costner can just walk into a room.
Yeah.
And the show completely changes. And without him, those leading men, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
All right, Jeffrey.
I wouldn't know.
Like, nobody asked me middle leading man either.
I've been a background player all my life. All right, you ready for?
We're ready for another one.
Another rodeo-related poem. He can throw a rope in a figure eight, but he just can't seem to stand up straight. What isn't broke is bruised or hurt from spending time down in the dirt, while Brahmas did their victory dance all up his spine and down his pants. But he tapes his broken bones real tight so he can ride tomorrow night. 'Cause way down deep inside, he prays to get just one more ride. He's a rodeo and cowboy. He's an old bull riding fool. And it's taught him lots of lessons that he never learned in school, like being tough and being true. Get up when you're knocked down, and the inner strength to cowboy up when no one is around. Each weekend, he's on the go, hitting every rodeo. He hides his pain with jokes and smiles. After several hundred miles, he parks his truck and pays his fee, then wonders who his draw will be. Ace bandages wrap around his joints, and with some Bengay, he anoints each aching bone and muscle strain as he prepares for yet more pain. 'Cause he's a rodeo and cowboy, and that's the cowboy way. And he puts his trust in Jesus to see him through the day. He knows whatever happens, the Lord is by his side, so he saddles up with confidence when it's time for his next ride. At home, his darling minds the place. There are chores to do and kids to chase. He knows that way down deep inside, her fear for him is mixed with pride. She worries, sure, but with God's love and with the peace that's from above, she's cowboyed up while he is gone. She knows that it won't be too long before he'll be back by her side, win or lose, from his last ride. Yeah, he's a rodeo and cowboy, and she's a cowboy's wife. Every day they stop and pray and thank God for their life. He's a rodeo and cowboy, and she's right by his side. They know that heaven is the place they'll head on their last ride.
Ooh. God. There's a way you just tie these things up with a bow, just hit at the end.
I know they do.
Oh,
dude, I am
man.
going to clip that. I'm going to overlay it with rodeo videos, and that'll be coming out on my Instagram account because I love that, man. I did a whole documentary on rodeo.
Jeez.
And it's just it's such a unique sport, and you captured it very well there.
I was out at the NFR. It's been years ago. There was something else going on out there at the same time. But I had the chance to interview Ty Murray.
Oh,
wow. And I had a picture made with Ty Murray and his then girlfriend, Jewel. but
the artist, musician,
the artist formerly known as Jewel. Anyway, she has an interesting cowboy background.
Yeah, she's
if
from
you
Alaska.
ever get a chance. Yeah. But her family grew up in the wilderness, very interesting person to talk to. But I can't show that picture anymore because they're with different people. Anyway, I have it hidden away somewhere.
That's great. And also, if our listeners like what Jeff is doing, you can give these as holiday gifts. He has a couple of books that are out there. You can check him out on Amazon. Positive Rhymes for Perilous Times. Also, A View from the Pew. So just Google Jeff Hildebrandt, Hild. Is where you're going to go. Then Ebrandt. Jeff Hildebrandt. We can also, if you text us, we can hook you up as far as the link. But check it out on Amazon. If you like the stuff that's coming from Jeff's inspiration, they're great holiday gifts and very affordable and also perfect stocking stuffers. It's an easy thing to drop into that stocking. So yeah, check it out on Amazon.
It's true. I made them very small so they'll fit inside us. I have one in my sock. No,
I thought it was just small because it was like, when you're in school and you have to have the essay has to fit so many pages. You just change the font and you change the size of the page and the width of the margins. And then you can go, okay, I did it. I did the entire book. Yes, that's what I would have done.
All right. Okay. How many more do we have? We got one more?
I can do one more. I can do another cowboy poem. I can do a Thanksgiving poem.
Well, let's try to do both. We got some time here.
All right.
Let's start with cowboy and then we'll finish with Thanksgiving.
All right. Friday nights out west of Dodge, cowhands would wash and change into their cleanest dancing duds and head off to the range. They'd tip their hat and take a chance and ask some pretty thing to dance. They'd two-step round that worn wood floor, but that's not all they came there for. When the music stopped, the time had come to pick the door prize winners. The first name drawn was Rusty Gates, and he got 2 steak dinners. And when the final name was drawn, Ben Dover's hopes were crushed. Instead of dinner or a trip, he won a toilet brush. Next Friday, Rusty Gates detailed his sizzling sirloin meal. Then all the ears turned to hear from Ben, who recounted his ordeal. He said the toilet brush worked fine as a scrubber and a scraper, but Ben said if they didn't mind, he'd switch back to toilet paper.
Rusty Gates.
Rusty Gates. No relation. Well, as a matter of fact, third cousin twice removed from another Gates that's in the news. I've been told. I don't know that for real. It's just what I've been told.
All right. So as we approach Thanksgiving, you got a Thanksgiving one.
I do. Now, remember how it used to be Thanksgiving with the family? Turkey, dressing, maybe ham, vegetables and candied yams, mashed potatoes, homemade pie. You'd get a little misty-eyed when remembering your family prayer of thanks for all who'd gathered there. Remember how it used to be? Now look around at what you see, those without great memories. They may feel that their life's a mess and no way feel that they've been blessed, but they know caring when they see it. They know love and you can be it. So get outside your comfort zone. Help those who feel they're all alone. When you smile and hear their story, they'll see in you God's grace and glory. If you give hope and lend a hand, it can point them to God's promised land. Thanksgiving's more than friends and food. For Christians, it's our attitude, an inward knowledge from above that God wants us to share his love. For what you have and how you're living, you can show your thanks by giving.
Great reminder to get ready. Now, what do you do for Thanksgiving? What's the family traditions there?
Eat.
Yeah.
Now we have my wife's sister and her family are in town, So for the past 31 years we've been here, we've had Thanksgiving mixed as family.
Yeah.
With adults and kids. And a few years back, my wife and her sister decided it would be a good idea to let our adult children deal with all of the mess.
Yeah.
So we gave
preparation.
away all the plates and
Nice.
silverware, and they share Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners. And so we get, I think this year it's going to be only about 20 people gather together.
When you gave us that poem, I went nostalgic in my own mind and to the times when I was a kid. And then I was thinking about how many of those that are older now have moved on to glory.
Right.
They've moved on now. New people that
we're moving on to.
We're moving on. You kind of feel like you're on a little train. And now there's younger people that you pass those traditions on.
That's right. Yeah.
And then eventually I'll move on to glory. They'll move on. There'll be newer people that come up.
Yeah. And our grandkids are old enough that they see and realize all the work that's gone into it and can appreciate it. And they appreciate the fact that all the families get together and, it's all kinds of different conversations. Yeah. But
it's special.
Yeah.
Very special. Well, speaking of special, if you ever find yourself in a car accident or injury case, the right person to call, the special person to call is Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy is pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's right there with us on the values. That matters. Because you got to be able to trust your attorney. You don't want to hire somebody you just saw their picture go by on a bus billboard. Hire somebody that you know shares your values. Well, that's nice. You really also need a winner in the courtroom. And listen to this. Dan Caplis is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. It gets better. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show and Jeff Hildebrand.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We've had so much to cover today. Matt Gaetz out, Pam Bondi in. Most of the response from our listeners that this was a good thing. People seem to really like, both on the right and independent, going, yeah, this is a good thing.
And a theory about, did they float Matt just to get him out of office, to remove the thorn from the paw? Was this a 4D chess move by the Trump administration? Interesting thought.
Yeah, lots of great conversations. Appreciate it. Jeff Hildebrand's rounding it out with us here in studio. And he mentioned that Wicked is out in studio.
That's right.
That is not a movie I plan on seeing.
No.
Go ahead.
All right. This is for all of you who are going to enjoy a Wicked weekend. From everything I see and hear on all the network news, today begins a trip through time and a search for ruby shoes, the ones once worn by Dorothy in her touching trip to Oz, which is somewhere over the rainbow. And we all know that because this movie's been adapted from a well-known Broadway show. And if it gets high marks from fans, I guess that we all know Hollywood will come again with a brand new PG gift. Maybe Alice in Wonderland, starring who else? Taylor Swift. And eventually, I know we'll see, and this just thrills my heart, they'll be remaking Rhyme Time, and Travis Kelce plays my part.
We can always hope, my friend. We can always hope.
That would be fun.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I actually think they would be good in those roles. And I'm not fans of them, but I think they would be fun. That'd be fun to see.
Oh yeah, that would be really fun to see.
I don't know Wicked. What is the storyline behind Wicked?
Damn. Okay. Wicked,
is Prince involved? How about disco music?
No. Basically, Wicked is a retelling of the relationship between the four witches in Oz, because they're all sisters, and so north, south, east, and west, and so it focuses on the relationship between two of them, and especially the one that dies in the movie. And so, who is she, and what's her backstory, and the relationship with her sister and Glenda that shows up, and so it is a really interesting reimagination of the tale. And as far as I've seen it several times in theaters, and it's compelling. It is really good, and I'm hopeful that this movie will live up to what the stage has provided. Yeah. I'm skeptical, but I've had some friends that have already gone to pre-release screenings, and they say it's solid. So
why did she become Wicked?
It's a long story. Long story. Got to go see the movie.
I heard Gladiator's out. I'm going to Russell Crowe. That was awesome. Yeah. That's my type of movie.
That's an interesting one too, and I've heard some interesting reviews of that.
Yeah, I heard it's not as good.
Yeah, that it's a spectacle without a heart. So it's the idea being that it doesn't tell the same story of Maximus, and so because of that, it's lacking a little bit. But it parrots that a little bit, the storyline, but it doesn't have the heart. However, they say visually, very cool. Yeah, they say visually it is spectacular. So it's one of those movies. So it's a tentpole type of movie. So yeah, but I'm excited for Wicked. I
saw an article the other day that traces back to maybe America's turning point being Top Gun 2.
The turning point? Like
what? Like where it just kind of reminded us. That movie was awesome. But where it kind of reminded us of like what it was like to be an American in the 80s and 90s again.
Oh. Okay.
And like we started to break with all the broke stuff or woke stuff. And, I kind of see Gladiator that same way. Like there's just those great, like gritty old American movies.
Yeah,
I like this.
My favorite thing about the Top Gun 2 is the fact that the plane that they are designing in the movie there, the Chinese thought it was real. Yeah. The Defense Department came to the movie set and said, "We got to let you know that the Chinese have changed the trajectory of their satellites over the orbit,
and they're watching
what you're doing." Yeah, he's like, they think it's a real plane. They're like, "Alrighty, sir, we will lean right into that."
The end of that movie, who's the actress in there?
Oh, I can't remember.
But she's leaning up against the Porsche, and then Tom Cruise is walking towards her, and it's just like fast planes, rescue, girl.
And it was Kelly McGillis in the original
cars.
one. I know Kelly McGillis was the original,
but she was that 80s actress. I forget, but there you go. All right. Jeff Fury, thank you so much for your time today.
It's my pleasure.
Always great to finish with some cowboy poetry. If you're out there
Great way to kick off the
traveling,
weekend.
please be safe. We'll be back on Monday. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good weekend.